pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's have a moment of silence for what's going on over there. Okay. Minutes. I have not read them.
I have not read them.
So I need a few minutes there. Any questions on the minutes? Nope. Anybody else? Have a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass the minutes from March 30th, 2022.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. So, all three here on
If you want me to put a date on that, I will. at some point in time, and she would call me. So I'll have to answer it just so I can tell her that somebody's out there to pick her up.
You're gonna put that in that scene.
She might panic if nobody answers.
I've got grandkids, so I look at that. Public at all?
I don't know what's up, he's not out there. He's supposed to be out there.
All I do is just totals. What's the taxes?
Denise, is the itemized list available for the taxpayers or just the overview?
I just have what's up there.
Okay.
Just the overview.
Okay.
It's not hard for them to discuss it.
We're gonna go line by line.
Don't have to,
Yeah, want to understand what's in there, yes.
yeah, okay. Let's see, this breaks it down.
The board has an itemized list of all the appropriation items, so we'll go through it line by line, because what you have is just an overview, so that you'll get an idea of what's in those categories.
I'm gonna go
We'll
make
make
copies real quick.
Make copies, okay.
That works better.
The transfer of the 195, we can do that.
We need Denise for that, because I have a question concerning that. Yeah, might as well.
Well, while she's doing that, we're gonna jump down to the disposal of the pumper truck. This is a truck they've had sitting out here for a while, they haven't been using. And I think there's some more information available on that, is there?
Yeah, it's a 96 for our Spartan pumper, but I have a question for the fire chief, and that is on engine 31 and engine 32. What is the current condition of those engines?
Current condition?
Yes.
Be more specific, I'm sorry.
Okay, I received information that, for example, engine 32 has a rusted frame and is only expected to last about another year.
It does have a rusted frame. The another year part is something I have not heard.
Okay. What's the condition of the frame on engine 31?
It has not been inspected.
Okay.
It's in the shop right now.
I get it, oil leaks repaired, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I personally would not like to see the Ferrara go away yet until we know the status on these two other engines, because if it has to be put back into service, we need an engine, we could at least try and put this one back into service for a short period of time. So I would be opposed to selling it at this time.
What would it take to get this one back in running condition?
I think it's in running condition now. It's just not. It doesn't have any equipment, any tools, anything like that.
If one of the others goes down, they could be transferred into this other one, right?
That's correct.
This one. So you got the tools if one truck goes down, right?
Yeah, correct.
I'm inclined to agree that we'll hang on till we know.
I would so be inclined. I think our next order of business on those would be to have those frames inspected and see what can be done. Get an estimate and find out where we need to go on those two engines.
That's the plan. But
Okay.
it's in service. Engine 32 is now a reserve engine. With once we took delivery of the ladder truck, engine 32 became a reserve engine. It is now in service at Station 31 because engine 31 is in the shop. So
But if something should happen that they're both out of service, then we would be down to just the ladder truck, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
The ladder truck and the tanker.
Yeah.
I think we need to table this.
I would agree.
Okay, we're gonna table that resolution.
Just for clarification, the way that this came up, I met with the board members over the last week, and the question was asked of them, you know, what do you guys want me to do with this engine? We don't use it anymore, we don't even have equipment on it, and it was said to bring it up for disposal. So that's how this came about.
Which I didn't know about this other stuff either, so. And I did mention it to him the other day, so. But I think it's wise not to table it.
Well, I'll make a motion to table it for the time being.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye. No.
No.
I don't think there's anything.
Okay. She's passed it.
I feel it's not gonna stay that way.
Thank you.
I think it's just that.
For both of you? No, just one.
May I have one, Denise? Thank you.
I want to make sure it's in line.
You want another one?
No, I've got a copy. I'm good, thanks.
Does everybody have one that wants one?
Okay, line by line. Power load cot system. Does everybody know what that is? Probably not. It's a power cot to load patients in an ambulance. If you're overweight patients, I don't know how strong you are. I agree with that. The little girl's not gonna pick up the cot. It needs help.
Battery operated, so all the EMT or the paramedic needs to do is basically push a button. It'll raise the cot up to the right height to slide into the ambulance. With the load assist, it hooks onto like a conveyor, if you will, for lack of a better term, that's attached to the ambulance and pulls it right on in for them. It's a cost of $43,407.36. There are others available that have been refurbished and have a year warranty for a lot less money. My question is, if we just had the power cot, do we absolutely have to have the power load system? While the power load system is nice, is it necessary?
We have a few residents that are pretty heavy.
Yeah, but once you get the cot to the ambulance, and I don't, have you ever seen one operate?
No.
Okay.
I haven't been in one
Well, you don't have to be in one to see it. They demoed it for me, and what happens is, once you get that cot up to the ambulance, the back of the ambulance, it will actually, it's very easy to slide it in. You don't have to have the power assist, but it's nice. But I think we can cut costs by going to a refurb, and because I found one for $10,000, and it's a Stryker brand, which is about the best you can get, but it didn't have the power load system. And also, we passed on a lot of 2 for $16,000. So I know they're available for less, and that's why I question this price. I mean, this is
Passed on what?
brand
I'm
new,
sorry.
correct? This is brand new, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
What did you say we passed on? I'm sorry.
I was told that we passed on 2 for a total of $16,000. They were not new ones,
To what?
power cots.
We did, and the reason being, we talked to a lot of people, several people, including our EMS director, and the power cot by itself, yes, it does lift the cot up So our firefighters are not physically lifting it up. However, when you get it to the ambulance, get it locked on, now you have to, one person or two people on each corner have to lift that cot up, push the button that raises the legs up, and it's kind of a slow process. So that you have to hold the patient's weight while the legs are lifting before you can slide it into the ambulance.
Okay.
So it was determined that the consensus was that if we could not get the power to load the whole system, then they would be happier with just a regular manual cot.
I don't, I know that the power load system can be bought separate from the cot, so I guess the question is, why wouldn't we get the cot for $10,000 versus $30,000 and still have a 1-year warranty on it? And then buy the load system separate.
Well, a new cot's not a new power cot is not $30,000.
Okay, well, how much is it then?
I don't have an exact number. Off the top of my head, I want to say 17, 18, 17 or 18,000.
Okay, so if you did get a refurbished one at $10,000, you're still gonna save $6,000 to $7,000.
But a brand new one comes with either a 7 or a 10-year warranty, as opposed to a 1 year.
I understand that, but we're not, we're trying to cut costs as well. We're not trying to.
But would it actually be cutting costs if something happens in 13 months to a refurb one, and then you're out the $10,000, now you gotta buy a whole nother one at another $10,000 that may only last another year?
And you may get one that's got a 7 or 8 year warranty, and you have to replace it every year because it has problems.
But
But
it's under warranty, so you're not
Yeah, but
paying
you're
for
still-
anything.
Well, that's my opinion, so I'll leave it at that.
Can I back up just a little bit, and I'd like to let everybody know where this money that we're asking for is coming from. So first off, the $203,000 we're asking for is not coming from tax money. This is not raising taxes in any way. There's 4 areas that this money came from. Number one is a supplemental Medicaid payment that we receive. We've received it every year for the past 3 or 4 years, and it's a once a year thing. We get it, and it's a whole calculation of that's way above my pay grade. So we have an agency that does that for us. They submit the report, and so all of this money that I'm getting ready to mention came in 2021. So our 2021 payment was $30,145.67. Again, that's not raising taxes. That's additional income that we brought in that was not appropriated in the budget. We don't appropriate it in the budget because it's a different amount every year, and we don't know in time how much it's going to be to appropriate it in the budget. So we have to come back and ask for additional appropriations to spend that money. Next is the EMS contract for Harrison Township. We provided EMS services for Harrison Township when their fire department disbanded. So we provided that last year, and it brought in $46,868.38. Next was our EMS revenue, what we bring in for billing for EMS runs. We budgeted $120,000 for 2021, and in 2021 we brought in above the 120. We brought in $96,845.77. So very substantial number above what was appropriated in the budget. And then last is we brought in $30,200 on the new ladder truck. In the contract, there was a promised delivery date, and we had in the contract that there was a $100 per day penalty for every day that after that delivery date that we did not have the ladder truck. So the delivery date was Christmas Eve of 2020, and we did not take delivery of the ladder truck until November, I want to say November 18th, somewhere in November of 2021. So just shy of a year of $100 a day penalty. So that was $30,200. All of those equal up $204,059.82. So that is where this money that I'm asking for tonight is coming from. So again, it's not raising taxes. This is additional income that we brought in last year above and beyond what was budgeted for. So.
Okay, on the ladder truck, when we took possession of it, we had to pay several thousand. I think it was at least $45,000 on the ladder truck. Last year's budget, we spent over $60,000 that wasn't even budgeted out of our, and I'd like to know if we're ever gonna get that money back. It was spent on things we didn't need, you know, the scuba equipment and who knows what else. So those are very irritating things that are money. Then, what about grants? We were told about grants with these, with these cots. That's why we didn't get them, because we were getting grants. We had to hold off and hold off and hold off. So.
In regards to what,
And I got one other thing I want to mention, if you don't mind, and that is, it says here on Indiana Code 5-11-13-1.1, if a unit does not implement a policy under IC 36-1-20.2 and IC 36-1-21. The Department of Local Government Finance may not approve the unit's budget and any additional appropriations for the unit for the ensuing calendar year. So, and I don't think we've done this, and I've asked for documentation for this, and of course I get nothing. So the Department of Local Government Finance may not approve any of this anyway.
getting back to what the chief was saying, while it's money that came in and it's not truly taxpayer money, it's still the board's responsibility to make sure that it's spent wisely. And that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna do some like that stuff. Pretty.
Just one other thing I failed to mention, but they do have a CUME fund, and that CUME fund is, they're given $160,000 a year that they can spend, and that's for these other additional things that they want. And so I don't understand why the CUME fund couldn't pay for something like that, if that is indeed what they so choose to spend their money on. But I don't think we should do additional appropriations for things like this at this time in the year.
Any other questions about the power thing? Rick?
Are we buying two cots, one for each ambulance? Because 17,000 and 43,000 is a big difference.
No, so 17,000 is the cot.
Okay?
The rest is the power load system. So there's the power cot, and
I understand two things.
Okay.
But that's, you said 17,000 and that's just a big difference. And
No, I
just
said
wondering-
17,000 is just the cot.
Okay.
Yeah.
The rest
of it is the power load system, the part that stays in the
Okay.
ambulance.
I understand it.
The power load system is more expensive than the cot itself?
Yes.
Wow.
This is solely to save our firefighters from injuries. This
I have
saves
no
them.
problem with that. I just,
I'm-
it wasn't that.
I wasn't specifically addressing you, just kind of throwing it out there. I mean, this is specifically to save the wear and tear on our firefighters. I mean, this keeps them from bending and lifting and bending and lifting and bending and lifting.
And the board has no problem with that. As a matter of fact, I've advocated for a power cot. I just wanna make sure we're spending our money wisely.
And that conversation was had, you know, because of power cot, like
Do
was
we own
mentioned.
one right now, or are we still using loaders?
I'm sorry,
Do we own one now?
what's that? A power cot?
Yeah.
No, we have manual cots.
We're not borrowing anybody else's right now.
Power, no,
Are we borrowing the manuals?
yes.
Next month will be about a year.
Who's loading the ambulances? Is it firemen or EMTs?
But, well,
Both.
Or both?
Yeah, they're, I use firefighter kind of interchange.
Cross-trained.
Yeah.
Got any suggestions what we should do this on?
I don't know if you wanna vote them individually or not, that's, the next
We'll be
item,
here
I
all
would
night,
do all
we'll
three.
throw it in there.
Maybe you want it?
So we do that one.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions concerning the power cot? Yes, sir.
I guess I'm a little bit confused, but from what I understand, if they can't get the power load system, the firefighters don't want any of the power. Is that right?
You'd have to ask the
Correct.
chief.
That was the
Why would you
discussion.
not- Why would you not want?
Because it makes the cot
Because
heavier.
it's very, the power cot is a lot heavier than the manual cot. And so let's say we load the patient onto the power cot. We push a button and it raises the cot up, which is nice. Then we wheel it to the ambulance. We get it hooked, secured to the ambulance. And then one or two people have to get at the foot of the cot, have to lift the weight of the patient and the heavier cot and hold it while they push the button and the legs come up kind of slow. So that's not an issue if you have the power load, because as soon as you secure it to the ambulance, you just push a button and it lifts it and then you slide it in. So there's no lifting involved. Yeah.
I guess my only question is why weren't these purchased earlier in the year with the money that we already had in the budget for equipment and like the CUME fund and things like that? 'Cause it was a need that we talked about last year. We're definitely needing these. And so I just don't know why they weren't purchased in the last 6 months with the money that was budgeted for the township.
Simple, they're 43,000 and our everyday budget can't sustain a $43,000 hit. Now, we could have purchased them out of the CUME fund,
Right.
but my plan was to come ask for this additional appropriation. We actually had a meeting, as you know, back in December to talk about this, but there were some issues there.
Right, I do get that, but I
Right.
mean, we've had 6 months in this year. This could have been taken care of in February. I'm just curious why it got drug out so long.
We were waiting on some of these monies to come in, the Medicaid money, the
But the
supplemental.
CUME fund could have handled this important purchase. Like, this is important, this is integral for the running of this all to go to work. I mean, if we don't have cots, we're borrowing them, and that doesn't look good to us, and our EMS deserve these cots, and even if it is 43,000, I think the CUME, like, this is a need. You have to shell out money for your needs, like,
And not once.
I just think we could have handled this earlier through the CUME fund. I didn't see a need for an additional appropriation for it this year. The board approved the budget.
I do know at one point in time, they were waiting on grants that our previous EMS director was supposed to be handling.
Okay.
Well,
And that
operative word there is previous.
balls got dropped. So there were
She's
grants that we were
no longer
supposed to
here,
apply
and so
for.
I don't even know like where that ball was dropped.
That was in
But I do know that
2021.
was like what they were hoping for.
Okay, so then when,
Just to be clear, we haven't gone a single day without having two cots. I mean, we have been borrowing them.
yeah.
And I wasn't gonna spend money on replacing those cots, manual cots, when I knew I was gonna ask for the power cots, so.
Just as an FYI, I asked the other chief if he could reach out to our EMS director to get the exact numbers that add up to the 43,407, and I just received that. The power load system is $23,958.35. The actual cot is $19,449.01.
You had a question, sir?
Yeah, I have a question. What is our liability if a fire person damages their back? What's the cost to the township?
Workman's comp, I would believe, is that
Yeah,
correct?
we have workman's comp
Okay, I didn't
insurance
know.
that handles injuries. Yeah.
Is that gonna be higher than 43,000?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just curious.
Not on
I would
one
assume at
person.
some point in time, if you keep making claims,
Yeah,
the
I mean,
premium could
yeah,
go up.
for sure, it's definitely related to,
You don't know how long
To
the
your
injury's
claims.
gonna be.
One of our,
and stuff
one of
like
our
that.
issues is, a couple of years ago, we had workman comps successfully, and right now, we're at the highest insurance rate that there is now anyways. But the point that is more important, I think, is the safety of our personnel.
Right.
And like I said, I'm all for a power cot. I just think the amount is a little high.
Or refurbished, if you have to have it repaired, it doesn't mean you throw the entire thing away. You
That's
just
correct.
repair it. So you're not out 10 grand every time you have to have it repaired, you're just out to repair it.
Yeah, and personally, I'd like to get out of the borrowing business altogether.
Out of what?
Out of the borrowing business.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I would as well.
Trudy?
Well, I just wanted to say on that cube fund that's been mentioned, there, the last statement I received is March, unfortunately, but, there was still $100,000 sitting in that cube fund.
April's been sent to you quite some time ago. It's, I mean, we can check afterwards for the date, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
been
fine.
sent to you.
I don't think so.
And 100,000 is not an accurate number either.
I received the April report May 22nd. So it was sent out.
To you, but that doesn't mean to me.
Or they powered by electric motor.
Yeah, battery power.
Would one cot, one of these systems, would that be enough?
So we have two ambulances. Our primary is the one, the newer one that we just had refurb. That would be the one that this would go in. Our backup ambulance doesn't go out very often. However, our backup ambulance is now our primary because our primary is in the repair shop. There was an accident, so it's in the repair shop. So at 43,000, the backup ambulance does not do enough calls to justify that kind of expense.
Well, I'm gonna say something. I've been living in this township over 50-something years. And I look at this, guys. If you can't afford to buy a new one, buy a used one and get along with it for a while till you get more money. It's that simple. Quit burning the hash and just buy a used one and get done with it. And move on down the road.
With the, and another point is, with the primary ambulance out of service at this point, maybe we can just delay purchasing a power cot until we get our ambulance back.
But then that's why we're in the situation that we're constantly in. There's always a reason for it to be delayed, and then it looks bad on the chief because then people are like, why wasn't this purchased? Well, it's not purchased because it continues to get pushed off.
Well, but you're not gonna put this system in the backup ambulance. And all I'm saying is, if you're gonna purchase a system, you wanna be able to put it into your primary ambulance. You're not gonna buy it and just let it sit around. That's all I'm saying. So when you get your primary ambulance back, then you can talk about getting the cot in the system.
Do they sell refurbished power load?
That I do not know. You'd have to ask the chief. I don't know that.
I don't know the answer to that either.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that price include installation?
Yes.
It does.
And that's just one set, right? It doesn't outfit both of them.
if they went back to that ambulance, our new ambulance is wrecked. It might not be fixed for quite a while because of parts.
Well, it's actually, the time frame I got is 3 months. The front axle assembly came in Monday. Body parts will be about 4 weeks. Once they get everything, all the parts and so forth, it takes about a week and a half to get it together, so we're looking at about 3 months.
How long will it take
That's, to get it in, is that what you were?
yeah, if you were to order it today?
That's a very good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, if it's like everything else in the country right now, probably 3 months. So honestly, I don't have an answer to that.
Sounds to me like maybe we ought to table it for the time being and find out a little bit more information on it.
I do not agree with that.
I think that would just cause more worms because we table an additional appropriation, then we have to have another additional appropriation public hearing.
Absolutely.
And then we're waiting another 6 months because people can't come up with an appropriate meeting time, or that works for everybody. So
So if it comes in 2 weeks, then it's gonna sit around for 2.5 months.
it should go inside the other ambulance to take care of our EMS personnel while they're using it, because my husband just strained a ligament. He tore a ligament in his back and had to be off work for 2 weeks because he didn't have his power cot at work.
I'm
And I
not
know how
opposed to-
important they are. I just think that we already had the money in the budget.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to looking into that. I don't know that it, I would have to.
Once it's installed, it's installed.
That's, I would have to look into if we could, after it's installed in the backup, if we could take it out and put it in the primary once we get the primary back. That, I mean, if that was the case, then I wouldn't be opposed to that.
How about a refurbished one, put it in the ambulance we're using right now, then push the new ambulance, when it gets fixed, and we'll talk about it then.
I don't
The
I don't know that a refurbished is available. I don't know that it's not, but I don't know that it's available. So,
Right now, if we get the new one, it'd have to go into the older ambulance, and then we're gonna have to transfer it to the new.
it wouldn't have to, no.
If we could do
Just
that, sit there.
But who knows how long it's even gonna take to get possession of it.
Correct.
That's
It
kind
seems
of-
like some of those details could have been found out before the meeting, but
Well, they could have if I would have known that I needed to look into something like that.
Now,
Yeah.
To a refurbished,
No.
a refurbished fashion.
They call them. Okay, we haven't had a power cot in the past, right?
Correct.
Okay, how many injuries have had with lifting the old ones?
I don't have that information.
One, you know if we had one? Never, you know if anybody ever?
We had,
I've just watched this on TV. I've never really observed this, you know.
Yeah. I don't have that answer. I'm sorry. I don't know.
How long have you been chief?
A little over a year.
Okay, do you know in that year of any of your people that report to you being injured by lifting this cot?
I don't.
You don't? Okay.
so probably
But why
not.
I mean, I'm
risk
just
it?
trying to assess
but why risk
how much
it?
risk we have. I'm for technology. I mean, that doesn't seem like a fortune, you know, for spread over a whole tax base. And if it's good, then we, you know, probably should think about it. I like Larry's ideas, you know, I mean, let's spend our money wisely. I'm not opposed to this as, you know, as a citizen, but I'm just curious how much we're at risk by not having it. I mean, we're talking about all this, people getting hurt and compensation and everything. I mean, I'm just trying to assess how big of a risk is that? How much are we at risk if we delay this a little bit or something? If
But
it's
I
urgent
guess
people are.
personally for me, you could play the risk game all day long. You could say, well, why do we even need a fire department? You may not have a very high risk of your house burning down, but are you willing to risk it? I'm not. I have a husband and 3 kids. I'm not willing to risk it. I'm not willing to risk our crews being hurt. Parker, how old are you?
22.
I don't want to see this 22-year-old be at the end of his career because he gets hurt.
If you have house insurance, and I mean, they come along and say, you know what, we need to triple your annual
Premium.
payment, you know, and because there's this thing that might happen to you, you'll want to assess the risk, you know, and so you don't just blatantly spend on everything just to eliminate all risk and not take any chances. You gotta be reasonable and talk about these things and evaluate them. That's all I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I think it's good for discussion. I mean, just anybody can just throw these things out. We need this, need that. I mean, I need a lot of things, according to me, but she like says, no, I don't think so. You know, and I mean, that's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm just trying to understand it from my own perspective. If this is a real scary thing we're looking at of people getting hurt, then I'm saying, yeah, let's buy this for $43,000. But if it's,
Or you could get look at getting a
well,
refurbished
yeah, I
one.
like his
I would tell
conversation.
him to get a refurbished one.
Well, that's all. That's the only point I was trying to bring up. I mean, you gotta take. I'm not disagreeing with you at all, Amy. It's just that I think you gotta take everything into consideration.
Yeah.
And the chief doesn't know anything's happening in a year. Maybe it's not like something has to be decided tonight. I don't know.
That's a
Great,
question.
very good on this.
Okay. We have several things on this list. Right now, we seem to be stuck on this power cot system, and whether or not to spend $10,000 or $43,000. The thing is that I think maybe we might consider the $10,000 refurbished used one, but there's a lot of other things on here. I mean, I'm not in favor of spending $200,000. I think we should save as much money as possible, and that way we go into next year in a better shape, and then maybe get a when the primary ambulance gets back from being repaired, we install a new one on it. But the thing is that I don't think we should be so hung up that we spend all night talking about the power load cot. I mean, there's a lot of people here, they want to talk about the entire additional appropriations and not just one item on this
Agenda.
We're one of the most expensive townships in the state of Indiana when it comes to spending money on a per capita basis. We're not a very big township. We're just barely 10,000 people right now. The thing is that out of 1,008 townships, we rank number 41. That is all the way near the top.
But do every single one of them have?
I'm talking.
I'm asking you a question of what you're saying.
What do you mean?
Does every single one of those townships operate the exact same way that we do? Because if not, you're comparing apples to oranges, and it's not facts.
The thing is that do we really want to be pushing ourselves even higher by
You didn't
another
answer my
200?
I would say they're not operating the way we are, or they would be 40,
Because not every
39.
not every fire department has EMS services. Mooresville does not have EMS services. Brown Township does. So every township it's comparing apples to oranges. They are not all the same. And when you're comparing every township that operates the exact same way that we do, with EMS and fire, with the same amount of
With us
citizens,
spending the amount of money that we
with the same
spend,
amount of citizens, we are one of the lowest in the state of Indiana.
Why doesn't the DLGF
this is a
report that then? They
this is
report
supposed to
like
be
you say.
a public hearing,
We're
and you're
41st
supposed to
in
listen to what I
1,000.
have to say,
I absolutely did listen to what you said. That's why I was questioning you.
but you're arguing with me,
No,
and that
absolutely
is,
not. I'm asking you a question. Do you have the actual facts? Do you have the actual numbers?
I have the number.
Okay. That's what I'm asking you.
It's on Gateway. You can.
We're
So
number
you're saying those
41.
other 900 and some townships don't offer ambulance service or
No,
whatever?
not all of them, no. But
You don't think we're
Well-
unreasonably high on that list?
not when you compare it to the other townships that have about the same amount of citizens. It's not gonna be
I'm gonna check
exact,
into that. I'm sure that can
exact
be attained.
numbers that also
How
offer
many have
EMS
that and everything, then
services.
where we are. I can get that.
One of the things that is not considered is, in that number, is that there are not a lot of townships that have a paid fire department that offers EMS service that does not have a town or a city within that township. There's not a lot in the state of Indiana that, again, that have a paid fire department. There's only one fire department in that township. A majority of townships have I won't say majority because somebody will call me out on that. A high number of townships have a town or a city within that township. Brown Township is an example. There's Brown Township and there's the town of Mooresville. Washington Township. There's Washington Township and the city of Martinsville. They both have fire departments. So that's something that's not taken into account in his statement.
Like Harrison Township does not have a town,
Correct.
such as,
They also don't have a paid fire department or any fire department for that matter.
but I did do a comparison of the 5 townships that have population directly above us and the 5 townships that are directly below us. And the average budget is $808,000. That's for population-wise now. And our budget is well over $2 million.
And they do
So
not
if-
have a paid fire department
so-
with that kind of budget.
Oh, yes, some of these I know personally, yes, they do.
Okay, so can we get back to this, please? So the next item on the list is 31's kitchen cabinets.
Does, in this estimate on the cabinets, does that include countertops or just the cabinets?
Just cabinets.
And approximately how many cabinets?
There's,
You know, off the top of your head,
I don't,
12, 13?
I don't.
Okay.
There is, so there will be counters, new countertops put in. We received a donation of countertops that will be installed with the new cabinets. So that is not in this price, but there will also be new countertops involved.
Yes, it is. And I assume these are not discontinued cabinets or anything, these are current production and their quality?
Yes.
Okay.
Question?
Well, it's just a statement. Again, I'm not understanding why things like this can't come out of the CUME fund. What is that money in the CUME fund going to be spent on? Instead of spending it all on these things, why aren't we spending the CUME fund? That is like $160,000 of money plus the budget they got. And the budget increased 7% this past year. So it's a huge increase on the budget plus the money from the CUME fund.
Over half of the CUME fund is spent on loan and lease payments. Loans for
What's the other half?
our turnout gear, loans for the new cardiac monitors and AEDs that we got.
Radios.
The only two that come up. So over half of the CUME fund is already allocated towards loan and lease payments. So, $160,000 is a factual number. However, it is not in context with what we have the ability to spend.
And that is funded by tax dollars.
The CUME fund, yes, yes. And the CUME fund is a savings account that if you build it up, you can, instead of getting a lease for turnout gear.
It's never been used that way. It's always been spent, and you know for a fact that I've always accused the former chief of doing his last minute Christmas shopping December 31st out of the CUME fund. We never have anything at the CUME fund at the end of the year.
We've only had a fully funded CUME fund for 2 years.
No, that's incorrect. That is incorrect.
How?
But it is a non-reverting
It's been longer
fund.
than that. It's not been 2 years, it's been longer.
How long?
I'm not-
3
Even though
tops.
it's a non-reverting fund,
Well,
most
3 is
states
longer than 2,
allocate
but it's been longer than 2
Okay.
years, my
from
friend.
all
Oh,
the stuff
3
like that.
tops.
But the point is, every year, it's always spent down to the last dime. And sometimes it's even overspent. So, it's not a savings account, is all I'm saying. It's not been used. It's called an accumulative fund for that reason, because there's supposed to be money left over for that purpose, but it's never been used that way. So, that's my only point on that.
We have issues on this cabin's sink and the countertop.
Does anybody have any questions about, yes ma'am?
Why do we need cabinets? I mean,
Because they're about 30 years old and falling off the walls.
they're barely hanging on.
Yeah, they've been an issue for a while. Matter of fact, they probably should have been replaced several years ago.
Why weren't they replaced before Station 32 got its $70,000 upgrade?
I can't answer that question.
Why?
They haven't been replaced. The kitchen at 31's is so,
No, that's my question. Why wasn't that taken care of?
because
before-
32's was just as bad.
How old is Station 32?
About 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 32 years, what, 20
20
years?
years.
20, I thought.
But my
Yeah.
point is, they got a $70,000 upgrade and you're asking for $4,000 here. Why couldn't that have been taken care of? It's like it all goes to Station 32, ladder 32, everything goes to 32.
It's the more runs are generated out of Station 32.
But what's the risk
That- well,
of
that-
not
that's-
having 31?
That's why they're trying, I mean, they gotta do it at some point in time, at least.
31 was, and this is my opinion based on attending meetings even before being on the board, 32 was laid to waste basically and left to rot because they wanted to build a new station. 31 rather, because they wanted to build a new station.
Yeah, I knew
So they
about
did the
that.
basic they could get away with, like the new furnace or a new hot water heater, those things, but didn't put any additional money into the building. It's now it's at the point where you have to put some money into it, because later on we're going to get down to concrete for Station 31. 31 has a myriad of issues, and I could probably sit here for a half hour and list the issues with Station 31, and we wouldn't have enough money to fix Station 31. It needs to be done in phases.
Yeah.
And in the future, I think it needs to be done on a planned basis where we can get that station back up to speed where it should be. And but that was the reason, because there was hopes to build a new station, so they wanted to put a lot of money in it, and only to turn around and have a new station.
Do we want to put this stuff in it or not?
Yes, they definitely need it.
It's needed. I just hate to see it come out of an additional appropriation, but it is needed.
I know it's needed. Okay. Push that down. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions about the kitchen part? Okay.
Okay, training system. I'm not sure what that is.
So, ESO training component. ESO is a company that provides several different components, reporting software, scheduling software, and training software. We already use the ESO reporting software for our EMS reports. Excuse me. The scheduling software that we use has recently been purchased by ESO, so it will be part of the ESO family very soon. And this is another component. This was requested by the EMS director and the training director. It will help their system out immensely with EMS training. There's yearly requirements for all employees, such as bloodborne pathogens, sudden infant death, things of that nature. They have to be done every single year with every employee. This system allows those trainings to be done virtually. We have full-time employees, we have part-time employees, we have volunteer employees. They are all required to have all of these trainings. Okay, so this allows those trainings to be assigned to employees. They can log in, do the training, and meet the state requirements on their own time. So this benefits the part-time employees, the volunteer employees and the training division, the EMS division, all of that.
This training can be done at either station
It can be done at home,
at home.
yeah.
Okay.
You have a $17,000 training budget, which is down from the previous year, because it was over 20,000 the previous year. Is there room in that budget for this ESO?
No.
Why not?
Is this an annual fee or is this just a one-time fee?
This is a, Tony, do you know? That's a,
I think this is a one-time
Yeah,
fee.
one-time
It's
setup.
based on, each employee per user has one amount for the whole year. So this would be a one-time charge annually.
Has to be renewed every
So it's an annual charge now?
Well, yeah, just one time, whatever the amount is, it's what you pay for 1 year for the subscribers, and that's based on how many employees we have.
So it's an annual fee.
yes.
Has this been in the budget before?
It's an annual fee, you said?
No. it is
No, it's not.
This
It's
is
a one-time. Okay.
We don't use this system currently. We're asking to implement this system.
Then why did you say annually?
You said it was good for only 1 year.
Yeah, it's $5,600, right?
Yeah.
53.50.
53, I do believe that's reoccurring every year, because it's based on per user for the entire year.
You have to pay them.
Yeah, you have to pay them.
Yeah, makes sense.
True.
So it's an
Okay,
ongoing fee.
these budgets are made by Tom, I'm assuming, and our trustee possibly, who's not here. Why isn't this put in the budget?
Right.
These are so that's one thing. These are annual.
Well, I think this is something new, right? This,
Yeah.
this is something new.
We'll put it in the next year.
It doesn't matter. When you do budgets, you do forecasting, you figure out what you're gonna be using the following year and you put stuff in there.
But they dropped
So,
the training budget.
and they have $17,000 for training. Also, things that are on a regular repeating thing, that shouldn't be an additional appropriation. Additional appropriation should be something that is just highly unusual, of something that you need, not a reoccurring item. Reoccurring items should be coming out of your regular operating budget.
That's right.
Part
Thank you.
a majority of this money, like I said, all this money was brought in 2021. Majority of this money was earned money. EMS revenue, we earned $96,000 more than what was budgeted. That's by taking runs, a lot of runs. That's earned money. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What was that?
I said, well, I've gone through your runs too, and you do about 2 runs a day, a little bit over that. Not even 2.5 runs a day
Okay,
of this year.
okay.
Well, you make it sound like you're doing all kinds of runs. That's not, 2 runs a day doesn't, to me, doesn't
We
seem
budgeted
like a whole lot.
$120,000. We brought in $96,000 over that budget. That's earned money by
I'm not
the
saying
guys
it's
in the
not, but
firehouse.
what you budgeted is what you should be able to live with.
I didn't budget that.
The 17,000?
I didn't, well, we're talking 2 different things now. Talking EMS budget and training. I'm talking
Well, I
about
thought
the
we were on
EMS
I thought we
I'm
were
talking
on
about
training.
the EMS revenue that we brought in last year.
I'm
So-
not saying you didn't take revenue in, but just because you take revenue in doesn't mean it has to go flying out the door.
Return it to the taxpayers.
Okay.
That'll never
We'll give you all
happen.
each a check for 23 cents. See yes, sir.
This, training, ESO training,
Uh-huh.
what would be the ramifications if you wait and put it in the budget for next year and not do that this year?
We'll have to continue operating the way that we do and
What does that mean?
we'll have to, it'll be more taxing on our EMS director who doesn't make any money for his administrative duties.
So you'll have to keep track of all this stuff.
Keep track of and put on the trainings, and typically our trainings, we do 3 days. We have 3 shifts, and we do the same training for 3 days, which covers, all 3 shifts. The part-time members, who are not on a shift, the volunteer members who are not on a shift, they have to come in on their off time on one of those 3 days to meet these annual requirements.
Okay, thank you. So let me elaborate a little bit more on why the chief is asking for the training and why we need it. We need it because there's certain things that are required by law. OSHA has several components that we have to comply with every year. This program will help us assign all members of our fire brigade to do this training in compliance with state OSHA and federal regulations. So this may be something that is new and we can budget for next year, but if we can get it in now, then we can get used to it, acclimated to the system, and make sure that our people are trained up to what OSHA would require. Such things like lockout, tagout, hazmat refresher, and all that.
Are we out of compliance now?
My question
No,
is,
we're not totally out of compliance, but this here will help us reach more people to be in compliance.
my question is, what is the 17,000 being used for training this year that we already budgeted for? Just out of curiosity, don't shoot me.
No, outside classes, when our employees take out classes outside, higher certifications,
More training, and that's already been spent?
No, we have not spent
Any of it?
17,000. No, we have spent some of it.
Some of it. I don't need exact numbers,
Yeah.
but then my question is, why can't we just spend it out of the budget? I totally understand that this isn't tax dollars. I absolutely love that. I do. Keep our tax dollars in the CUME fund for when we have another emergency, or to buy the second power load cots. There's lots of stuff that Madison Township needs. And I love using not tax dollars for it. Technically it's tax dollars, Medicaid, but, I love not using our local tax dollars for it. But if we have 17,000 and it's 6 months into the year and we've used, say, 2,000 and we have 15,000 left and we spend this 5 and we've got 10 grand left, and I don't know, how many trainings are you guys gonna do in the next 6 months that are gonna cost that much?
We typically spend the
Are we going diving again this year? That's a question. Because if we are going to spend money training on diving, you're not doing it in Florida.
Yeah.
Because it's not cold in Florida. The one time our dive team has had the opportunity to utilize these skills that we've paid thousands of dollars for, they were not properly trained for cold water diving. And that's not fair to them, it's dangerous for them, and it makes the $43,000 we spent on scuba gear a waste, and all the money we've spent on training a waste. So if we're gonna spend $10,000 sending our divers back to Florida for more dive training, that's a wasteful spending right there that we can cut and use that for this ESO that is important
We've not sent any divers
this year yet.
we've not sent any divers to Florida for the
You
dive
didn't
training.
go down to the scuba diving place. Where did you guys
Quick
train?
question about that. Diving is usually a recovery. It's
Bottoms
not
up scuba
saving
is in
someone's
Florida.
life. If you need a diver, they're already dead in the water, and don't we have local police, sheriffs and people who have dive teams that would do that? We don't. Morgan County doesn't have a dive team or anything that. Well,
We are the Morgan County Dive.
That's a police matter at that point. That's beyond firefighting recovery and save someone's life, it seems like.
That's not true. The industry standard is the golden hour, so especially in cold water, body systems
How many people have we saved?
shut down and.
Drag somebody out within an hour,
Within an hour,
revive them,
Correct.
that kind of thing. That's amazing that we don't have those in other
So where
organizations.
did our firefighters train? They didn't train at Bottoms Up Scuba
They train in my pond a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
we train here.
in the winter?
Yeah.
Because I definitely heard about the incident in Plainfield. So
I'm not.
it was around the same time as the fire at Walmart, so I may be mixing it with dates, but in Mooresville, yes. Like, where one of our divers jumped in and got back out because he was not acclimated or felt comfortable handling that situation. And that's not okay. And if we're gonna throw more money into this, I know that there have been trips out of state for training and that aren't necessary. And if we're spending $10,000 to send our guys out of state, why don't we just get the stuff we need in the
All of
budget?
to answer your question, all of our dive training is done here.
Okay,
So,
okay, cool. But what's the other $10,000 in training going to then?
what other $10,000?
I mean, we've 17,000 in the budget. I estimate you've probably spent 2,000 this year. I don't know for a fact.
I don't have that number.
Right,
in front of
so
me.
that's why I'm just throwing numbers out here, and if we spend another 5,000, that leaves us with 10,000 in the training budget.
We spend it on classes. I mean, fire classes, EMS class. We've got a guy, one of our paramedics, who's going to a class to be a primary instructor, so he can teach the EMT classes. I mean, we've got guys that
Here?
go to, what's that?
He's gonna use that skill here?
Yes.
Okay.
We've got guys that go to safety officer. I mean, there's a myriad of classes that our guys go to.
I just,
Greg?
We've made progress. We've gone, we're talking about
we
5
didn't spend
of the items,
$17,000 last year.
and we have spent an hour doing it. At this rate, we're gonna still be here at midnight.
I will not be, I can assure you that.
Is there any rules against recessing the additional appropriations so that
I have to republicize it, which is more cost.
even with a recess,
Yes.
How much cost?
$8 or something to put it in the paper?
$40,000.
Oh, no.
But that way, that gives
We
the chief
wasted more
and
money
the
than
board
it's gonna
time to
cost
look
anyway.
into some of these things that we've discussed, like the refurbished power load cots. If there's an
Our
opportunity to
EMS
look for.
director said that Stryker does not sell refurbished due to liability issues, and they're a 60 to 90-day delivery right now.
It's not Stryker selling, it's another company. It's selling the refurbished.
I don't have any books with me. But I mean, it's just a few dollars.
All right. Any other questions on the ESO system?
Are there other optional systems that may be better or updated, or is this the most updated system?
This is
And-
gonna work the best with what they've already using. It makes, it's, that way it's all branded the same, it all works together.
So it's not gonna be outdated within a year or two?
It's a brand new system, and it, as I stated before, ESO has several different components, and we already use 2 of those components.
I have a question for you. How many employees do you have? Or firefighters, EMS, volunteers?
We have a roster of about 50 to 60, depending on the day that you ask. We have 50 paid spots on our roster, and roughly 10 volunteer spots. So again, people come and go, so it would depend on the day that you ask. But 60 is the max.
If we have that many firefighters, why was Station 31 closed?
Well, we don't have a roster of 60 today. We have a roster with 60 spots on it.
Right, but how many people are actively working at the station right now? How many people are on payroll each week?
We have 7 spots a day.
Okay, thank you.
Per shift. Yeah.
And how many of those are full each day? Filled?
Depends on the day.
Okay. So,
Staffing is a huge issue right now, and it's not.
but we have 60 people that are available.
No.
We have a roster
They
with
can-
60 spots.
They can hire up to 60.
Okay.
I guess the question is,
So they don't
I would
have
assume
60
your question is,
employees?
how many people are currently employed? Would that be your
Yes.
question? Okay.
That need to be trained for.
So out of the 50 paid employees, we currently have 11 roster spots open. And how we do our hiring process is, every month or every other month, depending on how many application cards we get, is if we have a process or not. So, yeah, we do have a roster of 50 paid and, up to 10 volunteer positions. I think in the volunteer positions, don't quote me, but I think we're at only like 4 or 5.
I think that's high.
Do you think it may be
Filled,
high?
those are filled positions, yes?
What's that?
Those are filled positions?
Those are filled
Okay.
positions. So it's just a matter of time before we get people in here, get them through the hiring process before we can make that roster a little bit fuller, and that will obviously help with staffing, daily staffing issues.
But can you, since you're here pretty much every day, I see you all the time, can you give me a ballpark idea of how many firefighters and EMS we usually have per shift at each? Is it just varies?
Yeah, it would be unfair for me to give you a number right now without having.
What do you like
all
to
the
schedule?
statistical- Huh?
What would you like to schedule?
7 a day,
7,
every day,
but we probably aren't meeting that.
not every day.
No, we had 4 on the 18th, so we had to close Station 32 and man Station 31.
What's a shift, 8 hours?
No.
24.
It
24.
could be either 12 or 24.
Okay. That's what I thought, but-
How many are working a 12-hour shift?
That I don't know.
Like
I would have
an assigned 12-hour shift? Like
Yeah.
a regularly,
Right.
none?
Are those overtime shifts then, 12 hours?
Well, our shifts are the people who are assigned a shift like every third day, those are 24-hour shifts. We have in the past, when two people wanted to split the shift, like one guy take the first 12, another guy take the second 12, we've allowed that. Currently, we do not have any 12-hour dedicated, shift people. Now, our fill-in people who fill the holes in our schedule, there's a lot of 12-hour shifts. But there's none that are on the dedicated every third day schedule. Currently.
So let's move on to the PFDs and throwbacks.
A PFD is a personal flotation device. It's basically a life jacket. They're required to be on all of our apparatus, and the ones we have now, I would say 15 years old is pretty generous. Throw bags it's a bag full of rope. You hold on to the rope and you throw the bag to someone who's in the water, struggling. Again, those are roughly the same age as our PFDs, and they're required for the apparatus.
So this is a one-time replacement for 30 years?
Yeah.
Why do you need 23 throw bags for 7 pieces of equipment?
Well, 7 pieces of equipment.
Roughly, I'm just.
Right. Well, you have staff cars as well, and I believe the requirement is 2 for every piece of apparatus.
So 31's concrete replacement.
Is that estimate is for the removal and the replacement, is that correct?
Correct.
And would that be all done in one phase or 2 phases?
That I don't know that the quote actually says that.
Because my concern is if we do concrete work, if we do it all at once, we're gonna shut down all of our bays, or if we do it in 2
We
phases.
talked about that, and we can make it work with the base space on one side of the fire station.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you do it in 2 phases, you have your apparatus on one side of the.
It's only for the one, it's for the south side of the station.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the side that your apparatus is coming in and out of.
Yeah, but we can make it, there's one bay door on the north side of the station.
Right.
So we can work it around.
I don't know how you're gonna work it around when you got roofing material there now. I personally, is that your estimates, are they broke down on the removal and then the replacement?
Give me a second.
You guys don't have copies of the estimates?
No.
Did you get multiple estimates?
Yes.
Unlike our roof.
So,
Just a little background, the concrete at Station 31 on the south side is where the apparatus comes in and out. The apron is busting up. Somebody's attempted to repair some of it in the past. It's coming up. Out by the dumpster, there's actually a piece probably half the size of this table that floats in the water whenever it rains. And actually, the apron probably should be extended an additional 10 feet.
that's part of this.
Yes, to get the apparatus in and out a little easier. And that's why it needs concrete.
And this goes back to them not maintaining 31 of the, over however many years, the
I
last
think
10.
it's just wear and tear on the concrete.
Well, here's the thing.
But if it's been
Underneath that-
repaired once, then it
Well,
should have been
but
repaired
underneath the
better.
well, it was a patch job that
Right.
somebody did. And here's the problem. Underneath that concrete, there's not a good base. There's no good gravel base. What needs to be done is this concrete needs to be busted up, removed. You need to do some excavating, put in some gravel, and then re-pour.
That
Do it
area
right.
holds water when it rains, I can
Yeah.
tell you, because I cut hay on top of it, and I've run through water trying to cut hay out there.
And the other thing is, how thick did they pour the concrete? The equipment has gotten heavier over the years. This concrete needs to be at least 6 to 8 inches with rebar in it. Otherwise, it's not going to hold up.
And another question, will that extend the road on out, straight out from the station going south?
No.
No.
It would have been nice if you're gonna do it.
Well, I think that should be a second phase.
Okay.
What was your question about the quote? I'm sorry.
Was it broken down into removal, breaking?
As far as price for each?
Yes.
No.
Okay,
Each,
'cause-
each one of those is listed here, but it's not broken down by price.
Okay, the reason I ask is because we have a person who has volunteered to do the removal and the busting up and grading and putting down the gravel at a greatly reduced price. So that's why I asked, in doing due diligence. Because if we can get it done for, let's say, 10 grand cheaper, then that's 10 grand we can spend on something else that we need. That's the reason I asked.
Are you referring to an employee of the fire department?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, he would have to sign a non-compete, obviously, or not, for
Yeah.
conflict of interest deal.
With spending 45,000 on something as important as that, I would much rather rely on a professional to do the job.
Okay, so,
That's my opinion. Everybody's entitled to theirs. but
okay,
that's
so
my
he does
opinion.
excavating and all that, so I guess he's not a professional. Okay. Anybody else have any questions about the concrete work?
Well, does that person have an actual business?
Yes,
So they would be covered by their own insurance if something were to
yes.
go wrong?
And we would actually draw up a contract. It wouldn't be a willy-nilly thing.
So who is that individual?
Well, if they're not gonna consider it, I'm not gonna,
Oh, okay, well
Did
then
you get some,
then I guess I'll agree to the 45,000 for the concrete removal and repair, because I'm not gonna play tit for tat, so.
well, not either.
Next is ladder 32 tools / equipment.
Do we have an inventory of the tools that are actually on the ladder truck now?
I have a quote for the tools that we purchased. I don't have an inventory of what was taken from an old.
Okay,
piece of
here's,
apparatus.
I think this is an issue, and this isn't a tit for tat, this is an issue. I think that every tool, every piece of equipment on our apparatuses should all be numbered and cataloged. They should all be inventoried. They should all have a number attached to them, so we know. In my opinion, each apparatus, like say engine 32, so we'll call it E32. You start with 001, you start going through your tools, you tag them, you put them on a flash drive. Each apparatus would have its own flash drive, and at the end, you would build a master flash drive, so you know what goes on each vehicle, what you've got on each vehicle. You can tell how old it is on each vehicle and so forth.
We have a daily check sheet. I don't have that with me currently.
Now, I'm not talking about a daily check sheet, I'm talking about an actual inventory where your tools are actually numbered, where you can see what tool, for example, if when you're on a job site with other fire departments, and I know it's gotta happen, where tools get, well, that's our tool, no, that's our tool, type thing. Now, come on, it's gotta happen.
They're all marked.
That's what I'm saying,
Differently?
that's what I'm saying about marking them, you have to have them marked.
Yeah.
And then with an inventory, you mark them with a number so that you know what the tool is in your inventory list.
Our quartermaster does that, right?
To a certain extent. I mean, not every tool is marked because if you put a sticker on it, like you said, the first fire you go to and it gets used at a fire, the sticker's gone.
Well, I'm not talking
No,
about
they have to be
posted, but
engraved.
There's different ways to
You don't
attach
put
them,
a sticker on
you're
it.
aware of that, but I just think that all the equipment ought to be numbered and accounted for. I don't think there should be a willy-nilly system about it, I think it should be accounted for.
There's not a willy-nilly system, but
Well-
I point taken.
So what is the equipment you're requesting? If you said I didn't hear.
This was equipment for the new ladder truck that we took delivery of.
But what is the equipment
All,
specifically?
I mean, I can show you a 3-page list if you like, but it's tools, equipment, hose,
You
everything
had
else.
this truck since what, December?
That barcode, it's got a number, it's inventoried in its catalog
Yes.
on every one.
That's what I thought.
Thanks for
But
interrupting,
now
Mr.
you need
Russell.
another $38,000 in equipment to put on the truck.
No, this is the equipment that was put on in December. It was, that was ordered in last year.
Oh, but it wasn't paid for?
It was not. They did not invoice us until all of the equipment came in, and with supply chains, it took months and months to pay them.
You have to pay it.
What's that?
So the generators.
Generators, at some point, or previously, so we're talking,
This is for the board.
so we're talking about the emergency generators at both stations that power the station when we lose power. At some point in the past, we had an annual service contract for the generators. I can't tell you at what point that service contract fell off. I can tell you that last year when or maybe early this year, when I called to ask them when they were coming to service the generator, they said, well, we don't have a service contract with you guys. So this is to do a 3-year service contract for both of the generators.
That's for a year?
No, it's a 3-year.
This business, by the way.
What's that?
I'm in power gen business.
Okay.
So did you put this maintenance contract out? And I'm concerned about the repair costs additional to that. Out for bid to different vendors, or is it just with the manufacturer?
We use,
Because everybody that's in the business takes care of competitive power.
takes what? I'm sorry.
Everybody takes care of competitive power for PMs. So if you bought a Caterpillar, you don't have to get the PM done just by Cat.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know that. You can give it to Cat, Generac, Cummins, Kohler, and send out for a bid and see what would be the best deal.
So I did reach out to 2 other companies. I'm the one that solicited this. They both told me we were way too busy for this. Here's this company. I'd have to go through my emails.
McAllister Cat. McAllister Cat.
And then DK, McAllister, and there was a third one. I can't remember who the third one was.
I'd like to know.
So, okay. I'll look.
Well, I might be able to help them out here.
And I'd be entertaining to getting a price from you or whoever, so.
Well, it becomes.
Cummins?
Yeah.
Like, Cummins works on our trucks, Cummins?
Yep. We have a
I didn't know
national
there was a
account that does, that's what I do for a living, that does transcends.
Hold on, Trini. She's
not
not
to-
to leave and she's got a question.
She's trying to leave. She's got a question.
We've got to leave, I'm sorry, but I just, first of all, I appreciate the firefighters and the EMT workers and the board members. I do have to say though, we've been here like 30 years, with the way times are right now and everything, I think conservatism, saving money, staying within budget is very important for all of us. I mean, gas prices and everything, I just think if money's been appropriated and we can stay within that and wait, that's a much better idea. So I just wanted to share that. I understand the importance of the cots. I don't have a problem with that, but I do think looking at fuel and all the other things, that there's still money, like I said, there's $17,000 there. Why are we asking for additional funds in the middle of the year? I just think you stay in your budget. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the generators, not to skip way ahead, but it's kind of the same thing. Down towards the bottom of the list, when I did have them come out and check our generators, there are repairs that are needed on both of them, and that's what that one at the bottom is.
So are we able to like at least table those 2 until this gentleman can get us?
I'm just gonna get him in
quote?
contact with the people that handle this at Cummins, because we have a big group that handles this. And I know that I've dealt with different people that weren't aware of this. And actually it's a relative that was asking me about it, because I'm in Princess. And he actually got a better deal working through the National Accounts of Cummins for his company. I had to step back, for obvious reasons. But he worked with the Cummins people, and he got what he wanted, and it's been very good for him.
So I think it would
Yeah,
be
I'm gonna
smart to
get-
hold off on those two.
So anything that's not voted on tonight, we have to have another one of these meetings, and we have to advertise and do that. Well,
We could plan a meeting tonight with everybody present.
So I guess
and
my
then-
question would be, we could say approve this 6,000 and I think it was like almost another 6,000 for those two. But if he's able to get it for a better price, are we like locked in to using that specific?
Have we already written up the contract?
Yeah, like do we already have a contract
No, we
with
don't have a
somebody?
contract, no.
Well, first of all,
It's
once
just
you do the
quotes.
PM and start doing the PM, your repair costs are gonna go way down.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because the tech's gonna be here and go, oh, your coolant hose needs to be changed. So the big cost in doing any work on anything is the time generation, is getting the tech there. Because you have to pay from wherever their drive time there, their mileage. So having a PM contract, you didn't surprise me when you said all those things. I hear that all the time. So that number's not gonna be set in stone for the repair, that will drop, that will definitely drop once you maintain something. Because
But-
this generator don't have a lot of hours on it.
But those repairs are still needed.
No, I'm not disputing that, I'm just saying that next year.
In the future, yes,
yeah,
correct.
that wouldn't be the case, it may only be $300.
Okay.
Once you get the generators back up to where they're supposed to be, and the transfer switches. That's just not on this.
That's one of the issues I believe.
No, that's what
That's something else you gotta look at.
So if we could approve these, if they may get it for a better deal going to him. If he wasn't better, we could hold expenses.
So-
For that.
Quotes and prices, because, I mean, that's, you have to put these meetings off.
Okay.
Whoever you want to pick. Okay, so my question, so anything that you guys don't allocate tonight, you could put in the rainy day fund and not require an additional appropriations hearing for later.
But you have to have a resolution.
A resolution, yeah, but you don't have to have,
I'm sorry, say that again.
so you could put this money, anything that's not appropriated tonight for specifics, you can put it into the rainy day fund. And then at a later time, file a resolution to ask for that money to be transferred for what you need.
Right.
So like if, say we can't you guys can't come to an agreement on the power load cot system tonight. Okay, so that money doesn't get put into the additional appropriation. It goes into the rainy day fund and a resolution's passed later in the year, come time to pay for those cots.
There's only one issue with that.
Well, there's more.
The board has voted twice to have money put into the rainy day fund, and it's
Never got there.
never been transferred
Because
there.
it has to be done by a resolution.
Well, it's nice to know now, because I asked you that back in March.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I never
nothing-
got a response from you.
Sure we did.
No, you didn't. Let me read something for you. March 26th.
I hope.
I requested the February financial, the January, February gas receipts, the most recent nepotism policy, the most recent internal control policy, the asset ledger, and the transfer to the rainy day fund why it wasn't done. Never got a response. May 15th, reminder for items not received. For March 26th request, asked about poor relief investigator wages. June 14th, May financials. Speedway gas invoices, January through May, those invoices, January through May, vehicle maintenance records, January through May. I am still waiting for nepotism, internal control, asset ledger, transfer of poor relief wages, May financial, Speedway gas, Lowe's invoices, and vehicle maintenance records.
So most of the documents are recent. But I also had to talk with the state of why some of that stuff was held off on being provided.
But I still haven't
And
received the
we've had
most
this
recent.
discussion. We've had this discussion. Bottom line, we need to get through this list. We can continue to have this discussion, as with you,
Well, hold a minute. First
We can-
off,
we can
ma'am,
have the
first off,
discussion.
hold on. The
I'm
board,
not gonna sit here and argue with you, Larry.
I'm not gonna
I will
argue with you
not.
either. The board is running the meeting.
Okay,
So,
then run the meeting. That we can have that discussion later.
but don't,
Then
no,
I'm not gonna keep getting into it.
So next on the list is
Thank
2
you.
Surface Pro tablets.
Jim, I've had my hand up for a long time. On the tools and equipment, I have asked for an asset ledger since February of 26th, 2022, and have not received it. These are supposed to be done annually, and I have got nothing. She sent me one from 2019, and I specifically put 12/31/2022, 2021, excuse me.
I think I sent you 20,
No, you didn't.
but again, that's a discussion we get to later.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
So,
2 Surface Pro
we
tablets.
need to find out what our assets are in our township.
2 Surface Pro tablets.
What are those for the ambulance?
Yeah, the Surface Pro tablets are what we use on the apparatus for patient reports and the dispatch CAD system. So these are just replacing 2 kind of in a replacement cycle.
Outdated.
Do we know when the last time we purchased them was?
We did not purchase any last year. I don't
So
know.
we generally purchase them every couple of years, every 2?
Yeah. I mean, again, I've only been in this position for
Understandable.
over a year, but we did not purchase any last year.
So they're still working?
They are coming to the end of the life cycle.
But they're still
issues.
working.
There's issues with them, yes. It's a regular replacement cycle, so that you don't get 10 that you have to replace at one time.
Jim?
So why isn't it in the normal budget to replace these smaller
So
items?
usually this is a as Larry calls it, Christmas shopping, which is kind of, in my words, it's managing the budget. You put certain things off, until the end of the year, because you don't know if you're gonna have to spend it on maintenance or the unknowns. And then, you get close to the end of the year and you can kind of purchase things like that. So this would be something that would be looked at the end of the year, this year. If we don't get it approved, this would be looked at the end of the year. And if the funds are there, then purchased. If not, then they wouldn't. So this is additional money that we brought in last year. It's not it's not raising the taxes. So I'm trying to balance the needs of the department without raising taxes, without taking it out of current budget, because I don't know the unknowns for the year. So,
Okay. Again, they overspent the budget last year by $60-some thousand. And if these things,
absolutely.
why isn't it, these are regular cost things for the fire department. They can be taken out of the regular budget or the TUME fund. That's what this stuff is for. It's not for all these little things like this.
Training trailer computer.
This is what we call the training trailer. It's the computer right back there, and it has been handed down through at least 2 offices. As they've gotten a new computer, it goes to a different office, and then when they got a new computer, it came out here. It's very old and barely works.
Does it have the current version of Windows on it?
I don't even know that it has that. If you
Even if
put a
it's not the
CD in
current
it, you
one,
gotta
it's
push the
still
side
gonna
back on it and make it go back.
So if you get a new
A 45-minute
computer,
training
it stays
turns
in
into a
here.
2-hour training.
What's that?
If you get a new computer, it stays in this room?
Yeah, I would put it
It
here.
won't get shuffled up front, none old and brought back?
No, I don't know of any desk computers that are having issues at this point, so.
Air duct cleaning. I think that's probably pretty obvious.
It's already been done.
It's already been done.
So can that even be an additional appropriation if it's
No.
been done?
It's already paid for.
Has it been paid for?
It has, yeah. It was paid for out of building maintenance.
which is what it should have been paid out of, yes, that's what the budget's
Okay.
for.
So this would go back to replace that.
So the 2.5-inch hose for ladder 32, 600 foot of that.
This,
not
I'm
how
not
you
exactly
do
sure
things.
why I didn't put that in with the ladder 32 tools and equipment, but for whatever reason, I made it its own
Line.
So
It also wasn't put on the, why wasn't it put on the change order when the ladder was ordered?
hose,
Yeah.
we didn't buy any,
Did you get hose with the ladder truck?
no.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
So that's not something that we already have, that's not in the equipment that they've already sent us.
The hose is not.
Okay.
So that's probably why I didn't include it in that, so.
Ladder 32 is going on runs. It doesn't have hose.
It does. It's old hose.
Old hose on a new truck.
How old?
How old is it?
Without looking at it, I don't know.
That makes sense.
We're on the hydrocarbon detector.
Hydrocarbon detector is, that's a request from the fire marshal. That is an item that is used for detecting hydrocarbons in a house fire. So basically, it helps him determine arson or not. Hydrocarbons are gas, accelerants, things like that. So this is an item that helps him determine.
That makes sense for an additional appropriation to me. This is something that's been asked of you guys from above and beyond from the fire marshal, and it makes sense to ask for that in an additional appropriation to me. If that makes you guys understand where I'm coming from a little bit better here. Like, that's above and beyond. You can't have planned for that. You had no idea you were going to need it. You did know that you were going to plan on getting more tablets. You did know you were going to need kitchen cabinets. You did know that you were going to need power load cots. You didn't know you were going to need this really cool hydrocarbon detector for $1,800. It makes sense to me to throw that in an additional appropriation. That's
The majority of this list is things that I went to my command staff, my chiefs.
but a lot of it's stuff you wanted last
division
December,
heads.
so you already knew you wanted it. This isn't new that you just found out about this year.
Correct.
Additional fuel appropriation.
I received an email on March 30th from the school system stating that effective March 1st, so again, I received an email March 30th stating that effective March, let me get it right. Beginning with the March usage, so beginning March 1st, our fuel costs were going up. Prior to that, they were $1.81 a gallon for fuel, for diesel and for gasoline. And as of the date of this email, they were going up to $3.31 for diesel and $2.81 for gasoline. And then it also says that that is subject to change every 2 weeks as the district pays for fuel at market price every 2 weeks. Since then, it's gone up even more. What's that?
That's what I was just.
Yeah, so as of May's invoice, it was $4.64 a gallon for diesel and $3.99 a gallon for gasoline, which is an increase of 156% on diesel.
Sounds good to me.
Questions? As you know, I've got something to say, sorry. We're all feeling the burn at the pump right now. Every last one of us, I just filled up my Jeep and it was $70 and it's never been that much ever. How about we, instead of raising the amount of money we spend, I know that we're gonna need more money for that fuel budget. I'm aware of that. $33,000, I'm sure that you guys did some math and came up with that number, and that's probably 156% better, more, I get that. What if we set a procedure, standard operating procedure? And, this happens all the time at companies with people who get to take home their company vehicles. We should start restricting this to only work-related driving. I went out one day and I saw an entire family in their vehicle from Madison Township. I happened to walk by their home. 2 brand new vehicles sitting in the driveway. Well, every one of them was in that vehicle. And okay, so maybe that firefighter was on call, right? He needs his vehicle. But he's still gonna have to go home and drop off his entire family before he makes it to a run. So his whole family's allowed to go to that run
Yeah.
in that danger zone.
Well, we don't park in a danger zone.
But the whole fire is, like, why would you do that? Why would you take your family into an active fire? He's gonna go home and he's gonna drop off his kids, his precious cargo, to protect them, and then he's gonna go to work.
That's not
Correct
how it
at all.
works.
I mean, you can ask the board member there.
But
My
if
wife-
they-
My wife knows that if we go to dinner, say Applebee's, and a fire comes out,
We
guess
get
what?
left.
Guess what?
My husband has left us sitting in restaurants, I cannot tell you how many times.
I've never left my wife because I probably wouldn't be here to tell the story, but she knows if we catch a run, we're leaving.
Well, I
We're
get
paying
that.
the bill and we're leaving.
You're paying the bill and you're leaving, but then you're taking her to the fire with you.
Correct.
They have their
Okay.
fire suit in the car.
Well, we don't go in.
Yeah, I mean.
We're not going into.
I'm not driving the vehicle into the fire.
Well, I get that, but it is close.
No, but you gotta have your, yeah, we
That
sit and
makes
wait
us
until somebody
liable.
picks us up.
Okay,
Don't look at me that
but
way. You know
we
it,
could be
Tommy.
smarter. Instead of
You're
saying,
liable.
we know that our prices are going up, I'm going less places. You know, we had a vacation plan to go to Tennessee that we're not doing next month because we simply can't afford it. So why are we gonna still continue to allow our firefighters to take these vehicles on, you know, down to Lake Monroe and in places like that? I've seen them outside this county.
Yeah, they're down there.
I see them all the time. I just.
So if I've seen them outside the county, I know that it's happening more than just the 2 or 3 times that I've seen it in the last 5 years. And we have 5 of these take-home vehicles.
We do. 3 of them are assigned.
Okay, so 2 of them sit then, yes?
Well, kind
No,
of, yeah.
they go to your homes and
No,
you drive
no, they
them
don't.
back and
Well,
forth.
Our EMS director has a full-time job.
Yeah.
He works from home,
Okay.
and he has the ability to, if.
I'm
we
just
catch
saying that we
a
cut
run-
back on spending and gas. We start making the firefighters be accountable with it, being more responsible with these dollars. We all have to be responsible with our dollars. And if they're driving the Madison Township vehicle because it gets cheap, because you guys have the ability for cheaper gas, and they're not having to put their dollars into their own car, I mean, that helps them. Don't get me wrong, that's kind of like a benefit, you know, it is a
That is part
benefit.
of their benefit.
But
It absolutely
part-time
is.
workers are taking home vehicles and they're driving them to their other jobs. They have in the past.
That they're not supposed to.
And we could be more responsible with this fund. And we've talked about that for years, being more responsible with this fund. And instead of asking for $33,000, I think that's a big ask. Use the budget. Use what's in there.
The budget will be blown by July.
If it's blown by July,
based on this.
then we do a resolution.
How much do we spend on gas at this point?
Well, I know through March, it was averaging about $2,000 a month.
Through
Well, it's got-
through April, it was averaging that. It was-
Okay.
It was actually a little
I
lower
don't
than
have
that,
April, but so that's about
So I know that the
$8,000.
prices have gone
And there's
up,
23 in the budget.
And since then, it's been almost 4,000 a month.
But here's
Okay.
my concern.
Oh, okay.
My concern is also the use of vehicles for anything other than business. And I know for a fact that many of the grocery stores will even deliver. And you can order your groceries online and go pick them up or have them delivered. So I would suggest we need to, we need to start doing mileage records. We've asked for mileage records for years. We need to know mileage records. We also need to cut down on our driving. If we can't do that, then we don't need additional funding for fuel. We need fuel to run our equipment, our EMS and apparatus. We need fuel to do that. Nobody's denying that. But we have to be more responsible about how we use our fuel. And when I go to town and I see somebody's squad sitting over at another fire station, or I see it somewhere else, I gotta ask why. And because we all know inflation is up, cost of goods is up, goods are short in supply, fuel is up. So we all have to tighten our belts. We all have to do what we can to get by. That's another reason why we're concerned about this appropriation. We may need some of this other money for something else down the road that we don't foresee. We've got we talked about engine 31 earlier, or 32 rather, earlier. How are we gonna fix the frames? What are we gonna fix it with? You know, things like that we have to look at. So we try to maximize our money, not to be rude and not to be stingy, but to maximize our money to cover the things that we're gonna need to cover.
Which is what I'm trying to do with the additional appropriation. I'm trying to maximize my budget without raising taxes. So we agree on that.
But we don't agree that we don't have to spend it all. That's where we don't agree. And the other part of it, here's my thinking on this fuel thing. And you guys can call me crazy or whatever you want. I think what we do is we put you guys on a little experiment, so to say. Start tracking mileage and start tracking where these vehicles are going and see if we can cut back on our fuel usage. In the meantime, we say, okay, we'll give you additional 10 or 15,000. If you can prove that you're doing your due diligence and everybody is doing their due diligence and maximizing the fuel, then we can talk about more fuel when you need it. But I think that we need to prove that it's a two-way street. We need to prove that we're all doing our part in this economy that we've got.
Okay, concerning the fuel, they got a budget of $23,000. He just said that as of the end of April, they spent about $8,000. So they still had $15,000 as of the end of April. And we're at the end, getting close to the end of June. So I don't know, surely they didn't spend $7,500 each month, but whatever. The $23,000 plus what they're asking is $56,580 for fuel in a year. That's $1,100 a week, or $155 a day. They're only doing 2.238 runs a day. Now, why do you need $155 a day for a little over 2 runs? And then I might also say that, again, the Indiana code, which we don't seem to follow here, and like you have mentioned, Larry, that we've asked for mileage records. Any properly owned township vehicles other than fire and emergency medical services apparatuses must have regular maintained mileage logs which can be used to demonstrate that the vehicles are used for their designated purposes. And I might also say that we need to update our mileage, our car policy. But the amount of fuel is just unbelievable. Over $1,000 a week for 2 runs, for a little over 2 runs a day? Really? Come on, come on. And where are these mileage logs? I have asked for them too, by the way, and I've received nothing. And in my opinion, none of you board members should approve any of it until they start abiding by the state code.
I have to use a mileage log for my work, because they give me a stipend for my vehicle. It's Motus, and I have to keep track of every mile I drive on business. It tracks the route. All I gotta do is hit start, and when I get back home, which was this morning, I left at 6:30, I got back home this afternoon, I hit stop. And every month I load that to the site. It's a federal requirement for me to do that, because I'm being reimbursed by the company. I don't understand this.
You're being reimbursed?
They're not being reimbursed.
I know that, but I'm
Okay.
saying it's a little different, but it's still a requirement for me to track my miles, because I am being reimbursed. They're spending taxpayer money, and we're not tracking the mileage. That doesn't make sense.
Part of the problem here is procedure. Now, we go out a lot, meet, whatever, and numerous occasions, just a week or so ago, saw the ladder truck parked over in the tobacco store. All the firefighters came out of either Sal's or Hong Kong. You drive, and first of all, what about response time? That's not even in Madison Township. The ladder trucks out of our township. What if we had an emergency in Madison Township? They got that extra driving time, and that was 32. If something's at Harlan Crossing, that's going to elongate the response time. But not only that, taking a ladder, I don't know what that thing gets, a gallon, but mile gallon or something. But driving it out to lunch. I mean, I thought we should build nice facilities for firefighters. You know, should upgrade 31, and they should have nice kitchens there, and with understanding you work 24 hours, eat, sleep, and live there for 24 hours. Don't go out every day to lunch somewhere, you know, and drive our equipment doing it. I mean, not only is it wasteful in gas, maintenance costs go up, longevity of the equipment goes way down.
Thanks
And
for
that's,
coming,
and
folks.
that's not an occasional thing. I see them all the time when I'm out.
Our crews are allowed one trip to town, whether that be Mooresville or Meyer, Walmart, Canby. They're allowed one trip to town a day, and that's to purchase their groceries, and they're supposed to get fuel if they need it while they're out.
Well, go on their own time, get their groceries. I mean, I worked my whole career.
That creates,
and, you know, my company didn't pay me to.
I vote no. Just that simple. This is taking too long.
Okay, that's fine. They can go somewhere. I mean, that's procedure. I think we got some wrong procedures here. That's the procedure. It's wrong, man. I mean, it's part of the job.
Can I
They
explain it
should
to you?
understand. They come in. They're stuck there 24 hours. I
But
mean,
they're not stuck in an awful place. They had a $70,000 upgrade to their kitchen. Why in the heck don't
they
they
got
use
big
it?
screen TVs. I mean, they can stay there 24 hours.
They got a
And I wouldn't be opposed to, if they wanted to call in an order at Sal's, and one guy gets in his own personal vehicle and drives over and picks up the order, brings it back to everyone, I'm not opposed to that, but driving a ladder truck out of our township, you know, into town, away from where they're supposed to be, I mean, it just doesn't seem right to me at all.
okay, so the reasoning is if we mandate that they go buy groceries on their day off, then if they come back and request it, we have to pay them for that time.
Why?
Because they're doing it for the firehouse.
You don't have
No,
to
they're
do
doing
it
it for
for
themselves,
themselves.
feed
They're eating the
themselves.
food.
While
They're buying their food.
While
Everybody
they're
has to
on
buy
duty.
their own food.
I used to take my food to, you know, the jobs I had. I bought it on my own after hours.
For one person. This is for a
Each
crew
one
of
could
people.
bring in their own.
Okay, well,
I'm saying we got
Tom,
problems
they
with
cook in the
procedures.
kitchen there?
Whatever the procedure
Yeah.
needs to change.
It's too loose.
well, I'm just I'm giving you the reason. I mean,
Well, that can all be
whether
dealt
you
with.
like the reason that I'm giving you or not, I'm
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
can get
giving you the
around
reason.
that. They don't have to buy for everybody, they buy for themselves. Take a knapsack in with
What's
them.
really interesting
Picking up
is
food.
Larry's
And also-
brother happens to
Hang
be,
on, hang on. He wasn't.
Like I
finished
said,
yet.
I mean, I think it ought to be flexible. If they want to send out one guy,
Sorry,
drive
Jim.
his own vehicle, not drive a ladder truck out there for Christ's sake to lunch.
So, again, you said a lot, so allow me a chance to respond. So, if they go on their own time and they make us think about not getting paid for it, then we're gonna be
They're
in
getting
trouble.
paid 24 hours.
Right, they're going on their off time.
No,
If they're not allowed to go
They
while
can-
they're on duty,
Call Kroger, they're in there every day with their baskets, give them your order, they'll basket up and deliver it, or one guy can pick it up. Have procedures that save us money.
will you
Yeah.
allow me to
Go ahead.
respond?
You're saying the same thing over and over.
Well,
Go
so
ahead.
are you.
Go ahead.
So, if we send one guy, we're understaffed as it is. So if we send one
like
guy,
a lot of the township.
then we're
Where
even
else
more
are they gonna
understaffed.
go?
Okay?
We don't
Back
have any
to what I
stores.
was saying before, if they go on their off time and they get in an accident, they're gonna come back and say, well, I was doing stuff for the fire department.
They
And
have to
and
go
now we're liable.
They have to go grocery shop.
Food on. I'd like to say it's procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It's procedure. Those are lame uses, in my opinion. But if that's what, you know, I mean, there's where, I'll tell you what, I'll
Those
make
are
you a
legal
deal.
excuses,
I'll make you
so-
a deal. How do they buy groceries? Every day?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll volunteer. I can probably get enough other people. They make a list. I'll personally go and buy their food and bring it to their fire station.
Every day?
It costs
Yeah,
their money.
well, I'll get other people to help. I mean, if that's what it takes
Okay.
to save us thousands of dollars of wear and tear on ladder truck and equipment because they have to drive it to Kroger, which is, you know, it's ridiculous. my opinion.
I just wanted to say that Larry's brother is a full-time firefighter, and at their station, they are not to leave in the 24-hour period other than their runs. So I don't know what all you're talking about, all this legal stuff, but that doesn't happen at their stations. Not only that, like he mentioned, when our apparatus is out of the township, it takes a longer period of time to respond to runs, and that is putting the people here in a bigger danger, which shouldn't happen. And again, there's only over 2 runs a day. I don't understand why we have to have such a high fuel budget.
I believe that's South Bend Fire Department, correct?
That's correct.
So I just did a class with the South Bend Fire Chief who stated he put goodie bags in the fire truck. They go to the store, they set out a table and hand out stickers to the kids while one fireman's in the store shopping.
Well, that's new.
So that's a class I literally just did this last year.
That's what I say, that's
in
new.
attendance with the South Bend Fire.
It may also depend on which fire department it is too, which station.
That's the South Bend Fire Chief over the stations.
Well, like I said, it may be a new policy.
Okay.
So,
Oxygen tank rental.
Don't we already have tanks that, aren't they, isn't it in the budget?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
what is this for? The oxygen tank rental?
Yes, it typically comes out of the EMS budget, and last year the EMS budget was very, very taxed. Our run load, whether Trudy would like to acknowledge it or not, our run load is it goes up every single year. Our EMS revenue goes up every single year, and the EMS budget has not. So this is something that would typically come out of the EMS budget, and doing it this way would ease the EMS budget burden.
What does come out of the EMS budget, if I can ask?
What does? Supplies, EMS supplies.
Like the radios and the
No, like medical supplies, like Band-Aids, gauze,
oxygen?
IVs, oxygen.
Again, I just don't understand why we should spend the budget first, because the budget, what's the word you used? It doesn't revert.
Yeah, it's non-reverting.
It's non-reverting. Like, this money
Or it is reverting.
can,
The budget
or it
is.
reverts. This money can stay in the rainy day fund until it's needed when the budget is spent.
That is true. All it takes is a resolution to get it out. In the meeting.
Resolution is easier than a public hearing.
A resolution is easier than a public hearing. Much easier.
It doesn't just take a resolution. An additional appropriation takes a hearing.
Yeah, we're gonna
like
take it.
we're doing right now.
But if we're just moving money from the rainy day fund to something else, or using money from the rainy day fund, that only requires a resolution.
No. It's additional to what's already been appropriated. It's an additional appropriation.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
So the generator service, we kind of already discussed with the 3-year
Yeah.
service contract. So the apparatus decals and numbering.
Yeah. So when we took delivery of the ladder truck, we did some shuffling of the apparatus. So this would update the numbers on the apparatus to coincide with the station that they're now at, and it would also put stickers on the dive truck that has no markings on it.
So this hasn't been done already?
No.
This seems.
well, if you have what happens in the first of the year? Somebody shuffles equipment around?
Sure.
That's kind of a
And
waste.
speaking of numbering and decaling, we've had this discussion before, and I'll bring it up again. I believe all of our SUVs should be marked as fire vehicles and be able to be easily distinguished as fire vehicles.
Okay. That's another
But, no,
$2,000 cost.
Yeah, but we've been taking we took decals off of the Ford when it was already marked.
We did.
Okay.
The decals were starting to peel off.
Okay, well, but we didn't put new ones on, we just
didn't
took them off.
because
we got a new,
Costs money.
we got a new SUV,
We'll leave the old ones on then.
and we haven't put any markings on it.
Correct.
And we spent a bunch of money to put equipment on it, so why would we not mark our emergency vehicles so they're easily identifiable as emergency vehicles?
Cost. Plain and simple.
Okay.
So
I don't buy
scuba
that one, but
equipment is
okay.
much more important.
EMS tech bags.
Already purchased.
So then I have a question about the next item on the agenda. If we need an additional appropriation meeting to create a resolution for a transfer of funds, then how can we do a resolution for a transfer from the rainy day after this additional appropriation? I'm really confused by that.
So, go ahead.
The 195 is done there.
I know that.
Just a safety thing.
No, I
But did
get
you have to
that.
advertise?
But you didn't have to have an additional appropriations for that.
Because
Okay, that
It's
was
just
my
nice.
question.
Okay.
So if you transferred this money into the rainy day fund and then needed to use it later, you would not need to do an additional appropriation meeting, you would just need a resolution. Thank you.
the difference is, the 195 transfer that's on the agenda is to bridge the gap until we get the county money
Yes,
in.
I do know that.
And it's to be spent on already allocated budget.
I understand that.
Okay, so that's the difference.
Okay.
An additional appropriation is money that is above and beyond what's budgeted.
Correct.
So this transfer to the rainy day fund in November, December, once we have all the tax money in, it goes back to the rainy day fund.
Okay.
So it's basically a loan.
It's a loan to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that part. I guess what I'm getting at is all of this stuff can be paid for with the budget. And then a meeting after when it's needed.
Well, I have a question about
But whatever.
the transfer. Have we received normally we get a large payment in June and a large
We did.
payment in December. Have we received our June payment?
Yes.
And we don't need a transfer?
Well, but you could be pushed in December. There's 3 paydays in June and December.
In December, you'll get your money again. So you shouldn't.
Timing, if the money just the short time I've been here and from what I see in the past, it doesn't get touched. It's just a transfer.
Yeah, but you shouldn't need one. There's no need for one.
Well, you brought up last year about, was there gonna be enough cash for June payroll, which there's 3. So again, this is merely just a move that goes right back in December. After the December hit.
You've already got your money in June. You've got probably close to $500,000 that's going into the firefighting
So what if
fund.
we start running short in close to December?
You shouldn't.
We don't know that.
I'm pretty sure you won't.
We didn't do this until October of last year, but that's another story.
It needs to be transferred, yes, because that is what helps with payroll.
And it goes right back.
Yeah, it goes
So
right.
yeah, like it's not.
It literally just bounces from one account to the other.
Yeah, that's not an issue.
Yeah, this was going on before I even.
Oh, yeah, it's in. Yeah.
But you don't really need to do it because there is plenty of money in the firefighting fund to cover.
There wasn't last year.
No, there wasn't, but this year there is. But she didn't do it when she was supposed to do it last year, and she overspent the fund too.
I like to have the cushion. Like that makes perfect sense,
Yeah.
especially when we're paying it right back and it reverts. Like that makes perfect sense.
Well, with the way that
Just in
that
case.
staffing is, they never know from day to day how many employees they're gonna have. There may be 2 or 3 people that will consistently work.
And they're getting paid
they're
overtime.
gonna be paid overtime.
Well, there's
So
a budget for that though.
that makes that cost increase, and I just don't think it's worth it. We do it every single year.
They get budgeted money for the payroll.
So I will make a motion to approve the transfer of the 195 from the rainy day fund to the fire fund.
Did we skip ahead? I thought we were still on the list.
We were talking about the transfer.
I made a tangent. I don't think we finished the additional appropriation part.
Yeah,
Did we? Okay.
Was there a motion made?
Bags that are already purchased.
All right.
They bought them.
I don't remember the
I didn't
motion
think,
either.
I didn't.
The other one was coming off. They're definitely needs to be taken care of.
I don't recall that. I mean, they discussed every line, but I don't remember anybody voting on anything.
They're discussing it again.
Well, if they're 60 to 90 days out, and if the ambulance is supposed to be in 3 months, then makes sense to me.
They didn't say they were 60 to 90 days out.
Yes, I found out. Yes,
Oh.
I already said that. And Stryker does not do refurbished because of liability issues.
No, it's other, as I said earlier.
But if
it's
Stryker
other
won't do it,
companies.
why would you take that risk? I wouldn't be willing to take that risk. If the company that manufactures them doesn't want that liability, that seems awful sketch to me.
Good for you.
You're such a child.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Can we please move on?
Yes.
There's a motion on the floor. Nobody seconded it either.
You can.
And I cannot. You're right.
This township provide food for the fire department? No. I don't understand why. The person representing the fire department township is there buying food. That's the part I don't understand.
And I'm not gonna be able to make you understand.
Okay.
Because you don't want to.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how else to tell you.
So is anybody gonna do anything with any of this?
I'm not trying
Or are we
to
just
be-
sitting here wasting time?
Sure.
Because I would really love to go eat dinner
I'm
so I
not,
can go home.
I don't know what else.
Don't worry about it.
He's just gonna be rude, don't say
Don't worry
anything.
about it.
There's no seconds.
I would like to get your phone number before I leave today, because we've got some crew that would absolutely take you up on the offer of picking up their bills every day for them.
Actually, I'm gonna go over to Kroger and work out a deal with them to deliver, take the orders and deliver to them. I'm sure they'll do that. I see them do it every day.
Yeah, it's.
I'll
not
do
free.
that. I'll go and talk to Kroger tomorrow.
Okay.
Walmart delivers. Glad to do
Can you
that.
send an email
$99
to
a
all of us
year
board members?
would be a lot
so
cheaper
that
than
we're-
gas.
Pardon me?
Can you send an email to all of us that we're in the loop with that? So
Can I
that
do what?
Send an email.
Can you
to all
send
the
an
board
email
members.
after you talk to Kroger so that we
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah.
what to tell the crews, like,
Sure.
if that's been set up or not?
Absolutely.
I would
I'll
greatly
do that.
appreciate that.
Glad to do it.
Number 7, that was what's dead.
Programs have that service, I don't know how much it costs.
Maybe it's gonna drop off.
I'm not paying.
No, no.
They don't have to vote on this today.
You'd hope cheaper.
It's the public hearing happens, but it's your next meeting.
So they can't.
That's when you make a motion. Township members. That's important.
The motion has not been seconded.
Public hearing, and then they put it in the next meeting.
I do want to understand that better because I don't understand if we can just transfer from the rainy day to the fire fund. Why we can't transfer from the rainy day to the fire fund later? Or to the other funds.
I think if we explain it after the meeting, everybody would think that was a better idea.
Right, we can just transfer from rainy day to repairs and maintenance, from rainy day to training.
Right.
If we
What do
need
I want
it.
to do with this? I mean, we got 2 emails on
Okay.
it, already been purchased. Have we decided to go in on it?
Thank you.
I agree with you, that would have been the easier way to do it.
I said it needs to be approved, but again, this is something that's been talked about for months and months and months, and people are questioning why it keeps getting pushed off. Well, why is it being pushed off again?
feelings down over here with LPC. Or something like that.
60 to 90 day delivery.
There's a little difference in what I was talking about. This is the budget.
Which would put it being delivered about the same time as the ambulance being
Spending
returned.
per capita. That's a report that's on the DOT's website. This is a little better.
Well, yeah.
We need to be out that $150,000.
I'm sure that we are. That money's still money.
So why should we spend $200,000? Oh, I just, this didn't come up yet tonight, but I really think it needs to be discussed, the $150,000 that our township, so far, we still don't have new roofs. It's been over 6 months since we handed out this check.
Hang on, we've got enough on our agenda without going into that tonight. That needs to be for a future meeting.
Well,
It's already so late.
I'm talking to Jim acknowledged me.
But it's not
so
on the agenda, so it's not being discussed, period.
Jim acknowledged me, so I'm gonna finish. And also, what I wanted to say is, in the newspaper, when this additional appropriation came out, there was an ad in there for a bid for Martinsville's school. And that bid is gonna be awarded July the 6th, and the roof has to be finished by September the 30th, 12 weeks after the bid is granted.
We still have a motion on the floor.
And here we are.
Nobody seconded it.
Died for lack of a second.
But this isn't on the agenda, so it
Excuse me,
shouldn't be
so-
discussed right now.
And so I think
can
that
we
the board
please
members
get
need
back
to
to
think
this?
about this
We
150.
discussed a lot of stuff over here that wasn't on the agenda.
I know,
So
but
she's got a right to say
but
something,
it's
so just
9:15.
The 150,000 is something to consider because we may be out that. We don't know yet, but we may be out that. And then you're spending another 200,000. That is, to me, is very dangerous for the township.
You're not gonna be out that money, it was insurance money, it has to be used what it was given for.
So are we holding Haynes accountable for that?
So are we getting a roof? When?
I have no idea, it's not on
We
the
don't
agenda
have
tonight.
we don't have materials, and it's 6 months later. Like he stole our money.
Okay, either way, it's not on the agenda, it is late, can we please move on?
Yes.
Responsible spending is on the agenda tonight.
If we decide we can.
Anything without a resolution first. You can't move any money without a resolution. And any, like if you're
We
saying,
can't change the amounts on here is what you're saying too then.
I'm sorry?
You can't change the amounts on here either then. I'm not gonna second it either.
Here, I have it right here.
Her motion was for the 195, though.
Yeah.
The next agenda.
So you can
Okay.
change
So this
the
form
amount.
here, so,
This one?
I'm sorry, we're not
She made a motion.
There's a column for requested, and there's a column for
Approved.
amount approved by fiscal body. So,
So, you're gonna approve, and then we'll be back in this situation again for whatever's not touched.
That's fine.
For,
Okay,
we'll
yeah.
have to do the publication and all that again, but the second column is just what you approve and then.
And you got stuff on here that's been already purchased, so it's gotta come off, but which area did it come out of?
why does it have to come off?
You've already got it. You
Right.
paid for it.
Okay.
So what I wanna approve more money for?
Well, whether you want to or not is up to you, but it doesn't.
Well, I don't want to.
Well, you're saying it has to come off.
come off of this, or come off this stuff we're gonna approve.
It doesn't have to. If you choose to, then that's
I
different.
choose to.
Okay, well, you said it has to.
I'm not gonna take it off, I mean, he's already paid for it, I don't have to worry about it. I'm not borrowing out of the budget where it belongs.
Okay, well, you said it has to, and it doesn't have to. If you choose to, then that's your
I
issue.
choose to.
Okay.
So, I mean, she's gonna have to correct all that. We gotta tell her which one's come out of it. What we decided in January, is we don't wanna approve the whole amount, so we don't know what's gonna be.
Let's go down the list
Okay.
instead of jumping around.
Okay. Alright.
You don't have a second, so go ahead. Catch and gather.
Don't forget about the budget and the cume fund, because some of this stuff could be paid out of that.
So just to be clear, you guys are not approving the power cut. I just wanna make sure that everybody's clear on that.
That's pretty clear.
Oh, I'm not gonna approve it.
Okay.
Kitchen items.
That's amazing.
Cume fund and budget.
They should, but if they're not going to,
Kitchen.
then we're gonna go another year with it.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Yay.
Aye. Okay, that's all. How about the ESO training system? Any motions?
Do you wanna make a motion?
Why don't you know what that equipment is?
Under the current budget.
Where is that equipment?
No, this is new. That's what Tom was saying. This is the new system that they need for their training.
Well, never was training. Only the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 That was for ESO training?
Yes.
And that got approved?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
The PFDs and the throw bags are required, so I don't think that's really.
I think it could come out of budgets instead.
oh, that's way down at the bottom.
No, the PFDs, the 18 and
Right
the
after the
23
ESO.
throw bags.
Oh, there it is, okay. That can come out of budget, you mean?
I think so. You guys decide what you want to do.
Yeah, that's fine, I'm not gonna stay in budget. Have a budget.
Okay.
There's getting more money.
The concrete replacement.
Concrete's not gonna be much cheaper.
No.
What do you think, we're gonna be cheaper?
I think we should get a quote on
Did we-
But
You got 3 quotes,
Did you
right?
get 3 quotes? All local people here, or what?
Yeah.
Is this the highest or lowest?
Closed.
And you think if it's not a contractor, that other person couldn't do it on part of it, contract concrete work, is that right?
This is Kent's concrete out of Canby.
does he give you any specs as far as tensile?
Yep. 6 inches thick, 4,000 PSI concrete, fiber mesh, and steel wire.
I think there's a higher tensile strength, isn't there, available? I want to say it's like 5,200.
Concrete.
I'm just thinking that if you're gonna do it, you want it to last.
That's just for, I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Yeah.
possession of that.
We already paid for that?
Not the
No.
equipment, not the tools.
Yeah. We got it. We'll have to pay for it. We're doing it budget. Jerry, your turn to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. And you said you wanted to wait on the
I
generators.
didn't go to wait on the generators. I mean,
Quick question on the ladder tools, and equipment. Are you gonna vote separately on the hose
well,
or?
you were supposed to put the hose with it to begin with, right?
Well, we'll have to vote on it separate now.
Okay, yeah, do it separate. We'll get down to it. Generators, we got that on board. Service Pro, we need that.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Surface Pro tablets. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Did we skip over the generators?
Yeah, we're not,
No generator.
those weren't.
Computer, I think we need a computer.
Yeah.
I think it could come out of the budget.
We'll make a motion to approve the training trailer computer.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. The air duct, everything done.
How about the hoses now?
Yeah, I definitely, I'll make a motion to approve the hose.
Trying to get something out here. I got a long way back on my driveway. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Yeah, I think it can come out of the budget.
And the hydrocarbon detector.
How did that come out of
You want that to come out of the budget?
I don't know, that's a kind of a unique item, and it's not something you would normally plan for. I'll make a motion to purchase it.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Here's our additional fuel. Now, that I have to. How much we spent on fuel already?
You know, on fuel today.
No, not offhand.
Just rough.
That, I can tell you right now, when we came up with that number, that's hoping to get through the end of the year. Hoping. And that was before the, 136%, 120%. So
That was before the May,
before,
the
actually,
May invoice.
actually, I think before the April, wasn't it?
No, it had it was after the April, because April's the month where it had two different rates.
Yeah.
It was before the May, which
Okay.
it's gone up in May as
Yeah,
well. So.
and the May had two different rates as well.
Well, I think we're gonna get moved to solve that at the school.
Well, I think there needs to be some due diligence and some good faith showed on the other end of things, so that we know that it's all being used properly.
Well, I agree on that.
And serving and doing what we need to do. Like I said, I think I would not be opposed to going with 10 or 15,000 with that condition, and then if those conditions are met, then approving some more, because they're gonna need more. I mean, it's not, but I wanna make sure that it's being used appropriately.
Now, this is over the bill, what they got left, they got 20 something.
Starting with 23.
23.
And at the end of April, they still had 15 of the 23.
Yeah, the April.
So 15
So not
is 40.
23 plus 15. It was 15.
And 45 just went out the door.
Right. 15 and
4,600.
33 is 40.
4,600.
The May invoice was $4,600.
So you would have
So that drops it down to
48,000.
about 10, a little over 10.5 at the end of May. That was available in the budget.
And we put 20 in.
Like she said, our current budget, and this was actually, again, before the May invoice came in, and increased in May.
It's subject to change every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, and it typically changes every 2 weeks. But when we had this discussion and came up with the numbers, our current budget would get us through July. And that was, again, that was before the latest increase. So,
And you started with what,
23?
23?
Are we gonna start following the Indiana code about mileage, documenting it? Those
I
rules
would
are,
like to see them do it.
yeah, those rules are there for the taxpayers, to protect them.
You know what that rule is?
She just read it, and
Okay.
and when she read
Did
it,
you look at it, see if you could apply it?
when she read it, the first part of the IC code states that it's not applicable for fire and
Apparatus.
emergency.
Apparatus.
Well, that's anything that takes a fire run.
No, the vehicles are.
Well, regardless of the Indiana code, I still think it should needs to be done. We've asked for it for years, and I think it needs to be done.
The vehicles.
Yeah.
So you wanna make a motion to approve 25,000?
25,000. Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve 25,000.
I'll second.
I'd like to amend the motion.
The oxygen tank rental,
You haven't voted on the other one yet,
on the other what?
on the fuel appropriation. You got your motion, but you haven't voted on it yet, and I said I'd like to amend the motion to include that we start getting mileage records, knowing where these vehicles are going, and that they're.
Well, I had a second, so I guess all in favor say aye.
That won't be going on this paper, but
Yeah.
that's trouble.
Well, no.
Okay.
I mean, they need fuel, I'm all for it.
So the oxygen tank rental, you guys wanted that to come out of the budget,
Correct.
so that's denied.
Generator, that's.
Yeah, that was denied.
You're denying the repair of the generator as well?
Did you say it needed repair right now?
Both of them need repair.
Yeah, I mean, the longer it goes, the worse it's gonna get. So,
Do they run now?
they do.
But you've had issues with the transfer switches.
Leaking, one of them leaks.
One of the leaks, the transfer switch issues is causing some pretty significant power surges.
Yeah.
Tearing up other equipment.
Exactly.
So you're the expert on those generators. What, should we have them repair it?
I think you need to get them repaired, and then you need to readdress the maintenance contract. I mean, I understand you sent it to 3 different locations, but only one was willing to give them
Right.
a quote. And I think that's, and I don't know if you're gonna get a lower quote from where I'm gonna send it or not, because I don't know yet. But I think you do need to fix the gen set. Now, the transfer switches, was that all the transfer switches? Was that amount, transfer switches too?
Yeah, that amount covers the transfer switch working on.
Yeah, you need that, because if the fire goes out,
Okay,
the
so
radios and all that stuff's not gonna work.
So you can make a motion to approve that. At least.
Again, that's gonna be a one-time thing, and then next year, if you maintain them, you shouldn't have these issues.
Okay, so that one down the bottom there, service repair both stations, that one we need.
Yes, I think so.
No, they're needed repairs at this point.
Yeah, okay.
You gotta get them back to park.
And I appreciate that. And
Then I'll make a motion to approve the service/repair of those.
That's what this whole thing is, okay, service repair both stations.
Yeah, this one here, but not the
Oh,
3-year
no.
service, yeah.
No, that's off already.
So I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Nasty cows. Got one inventory.
That's probably what I said.
Well, at the beginning of the year, could get shuffled.
Why would equipment get shuffled?
If you do get a new chief, he may decide he wants to shuffle equipment.
What would be his reasoning? Because the way that things are now has been deemed the safest, so.
Well, you know, but that's,
It's been shuffled previously, he said.
And that this is why, because they know that the way that it's set up now is the safest and has been the most accurate and efficient. But what do I know? So, what would you like to do with that?
I think you need to
Motion.
It's up to you. Sounds like our new trustee's gonna make changes, so I wouldn't waste the money.
Scrap.
And the EMS tech bags have already been already purchased.
Already purchased. She wanted new tools, that was she doing all the way on it.
So for fuel, it'll be pretty easy. We're just gonna change it from the 33,580 to the amount approved is gonna be that 25,000.
Okay, here's yours. You wanna change the totals on them? I don't know where these go on this sheet, that's the other problem.
I don't have one of these.
No, this is all we got.
Just the one?
We got three of them.
Because I only have two. I don't have this
Oh,
one.
she laid that.
But I guess she made.
The form with the two sets of lines, I just
Yeah.
made the one for you guys to sign.
But you, this is your copy though, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can make copies for you.
Okay. Yes, she said she'll make copies.
You know what, these categories we took off, you know where they come out on this?
Well, it would go in 1, 2, 3, not 2A, 2B. It would just go in that section.
So we're just trying to distinguish as.
Because, see,
I got a sheet right here that's got,
So the number, just the number, not the letters, the number to the side.
so here,
Right.
we just need
So-
to know which ones that were denied, but where it came out of. That's where we'll just have to
Right.
change those numbers.
So I think if Jim brought his,
I did, here it is.
yeah, this one's got.
This
two.
number's you need to start on.
Probably.
So the number here, not disregard the letters,
Okay.
just the number is the section of the budget that we go to. So most of it is in going to.
That's our copy.
And actually on that one,
You have one?
make sure. So that's,
Here's another one down here.
so all of them except the training
That's
system.
the one that's all down here.
The training system goes to 3. So 2 is supplies. That's 3 and that's separate.
I just think all this needs to come out of the budget.
So
I just
this will be the
Why do we even do these meetings if they're just gonna do it? I mean, they said, she said they need a resolution, but when they called us, they said that they weren't on, they're not transferring.
preparing rentals. 2BA and 2B.
And the whole board voted for it, so.
Yeah.
I'm looking at what can be done.
I don't know how long that whole process takes.
Fiscal year. Because we'd be the first ones to do it. It sets a precedent. It doesn't do nothing. It sets a precedent.
Okay, so
But we have to talk to the county commissioners and the county council. So, are we adjourned?
not yet.
I didn't think so.
You're doing math.
Oh, good. God. I'm gonna start while they
Let's do supplies first. That's the first one. That's the first I heard the rules are
I know.
would be two tablets, 3588.
Yeah, we approved it.
Computers, maybe, you will.
Right, so I'll send you an email tomorrow asking for the information.
Because the state board's going to that we did it okay. So I think you need to call them again. Because you know what? When you do these things off the cuff, you're not gonna have people that, no, they don't have that. So I don't understand that at all.
They ought to be down to zero before they ask for us.
That's a different
Huh? You ought to be down to
47,146, and that will be under supplies. The first supplies.
Well, I personally think a lot of this stuff should just come out of clean from the budget.
47,146.38.
And the 25,000 is way. That's still 48,000. That's still almost $1,000, I think.
So next is supplies, fuel, that just obviously
Still not gonna comply with our request either.
And yet the state law, you know, they want all this other stuff, all this safe stuff for the state, but yet we can't get.
Isn't it exciting? Isn't it exciting?
Yeah.
630,
Not really.
500. Yes. 45,240. Yeah, 5,973.
We also need to determine the date of our next meeting,
55,355.
and it needs to be soon.
Yes. Very serious. Because he didn't even go over it to order.
Okay.
And I got two.
The training, that was approved, right? So you wanna add all of those up?
She's gonna have to have something, she'll get time to do it too.
So 132, 8. So 132.
Jordan just got his number, I think. What? Just got the guy's number.
He's got my number, my email and all, so.
Does anybody know what this guy's name was? Because I am gonna drive him crazy about the broker thing. All right, so I think we're good. That's your pen.
Remembering this.
All right, so there's our numbers.
Because.
These are mine.
Yeah, because
She can have this, yeah.
Oh, the kitchen cabinets.
There's a training system. Tools for lab. Service pro, training trailer, pros, high quality.
All right.
And generator.
So you've got all your numbers down, so we can do a motion.
You're fine, I'm happy.
Oh yeah, I was just, I know my camera's back there, so I was trying to make room.
Additional appropriation, I want to make a motion to approve as amended, come up with a new total of 132,851.74.
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Can I get a copy of that, please? Once we sign it.
Yeah, Denise will have to make us copies.
Would you mind giving me that total again?
132, 851, 24.
74.
74, sorry.
Thank you.
I couldn't read my two, or my seven. transfer of funds in the, this one we didn't.
No, sign it on.
Yes, I said we didn't do that. Transfer of funds.
We can do that.
We have to still, we have to approve that,
Oh, yeah,
or
we haven't done
not,
that.
or not approve it.
That's correct. We haven't done that yet.
Do you have a motion?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the 195 transfer.
She made the motion to approve the
Okay, I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Still? No, 24th yet. We're getting there.
Then you got a test. Secretary of Labor. That's you.
Yep.
And then this one, you guys didn't want to do, correct?
Yeah. We're gonna hang on to him for a while.
And if this one's your copy, this one. So I'll take the motion to not approve that.
No. I'm not gonna vote on it.
No? Don't have to? No, nay.
Yeah, I think we probably should vote on
I
it.
would vote and everybody will just nay.
So everything's in order.
Mhm.
Somebody's gotta make a motion, so I'll make a motion. Who's gonna second it? And then we can all vote.
I'll second.
All in favor?
What's
All
this
opposed?
motion for?
Yeah.
Nay.
Selling the truck, selling engine 33.
And don't be confused because the.
I thought you guys already made a motion to table that earlier.
Table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you did. You did it at the beginning of the meeting while she was making copies.
She was up there copying stuff.
Oh, if
Don't
you,
worry
if you
about
wanna table it, if that was what was
That's what we
done,
did. It's
that's
been so
fine.
long ago, I think.
Yeah.
Because once you
It was like 2 hours ago.
Oh, yeah, cause they wanna
Yeah.
I mean, if it's
estimate on 32's frame, so,
Yep.
okay.
Here's yours.
I think you need to sign the bond with that one. Yeah.
Yeah, copy machine working. Almost there.
I don't. I think it's for mowing.
I just don't get dark and stay up there.
Okay, so, questions or comments? Lord forbid that I'm opening that.
So, I'm gonna start next meeting.
Yes, next meeting.
Next meeting. Okay.
Can we all get copies of the one? The top one?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that'll be in July, I'm sure.
if I can email it to you guys with the thing that goes to the state.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, thank you.
7 for 14.
I am out of the country July 9th to the 16th.
21st.
21st. It's a month away.
Sure.
7 p.m.
Next meeting, July 21st, 7 p.m., same location, short. Have a motion to adjourn. Or Trudy,
Whatever happened with the last meeting, did the, thing with the resolution that you guys, voted on, did that get approved by the state, or do you guys know anything about that?
The tax levy?
yeah.
No, haven't heard.
Because he said that was only gonna be a couple weeks.
Yeah, I know,
and
and I think he lied to us. I don't know.
It seems to happen a lot around here.
He works for the government.
Can't control the state.
I didn't hear her whisper or anything about that, huh? What about us voting to move that money into the rainy day fund? We had the roofing money that was to be moved, and apparently never got moved.
Because it has to be done by a resolution. You cannot do it by just voting.
So that
It has to be a resolution.
I was told as long as we got into the minutes and the minutes were approved, it would work. The next meeting.
Do we need to advertise a resolution?
No.
No.
Oh, that's easy. That's just printing out a piece of paper, right?
I'm sorry, Jim, I didn't hear you.
I want a resolution drawn up for that to be transferred to rainy day fund, the roofing money until she gets something done. Apparently it's not gonna happen.
I don't know if we can move insurance money.
Well, I'll call the state then and ask them.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
So it is.
Good luck.